The following is a special presentation of ESPN on ABC.
The New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the tough flat mile oval, just 90 minutes drive from downtown Boston, ready to host the first of 10 events in the chase for the Sprint Cup to determine NASCAR's 2008 champion. It began raining here around 4 a.m. Eastern Time, quite heavily at points, but the rain has moved through. It stopped about 90 minutes ago. The radar looks good. Track drying is ongoing, and officials tell us the Speedway should be ready for racing right around the scheduled green flag time, just a little over 1 hour from now. When we get going, 12 drivers will compete for the championship, begin their 10-race journey to that point. In the group, a few hoping to pull off an upset and claim their first title, like Virginia's Denny Hamlin driving for Joe Gibbs. There are former champions in the group, some of the sport's biggest names, including Jeff Gordon. Together, the former champs represent 9 previous titles. And there are 3 drivers who've done most of the winning so far this season and look to be the championship favorites going in, one of whom scored the win in a wild race last Sunday that determined this year's playoff participants. Seven drivers for 5 spots in the championship, the final race to determine who's in the chase.
Trouble, turn 2, David Reagan's in the wall, and he takes Mac Kenseth with him.
Now there's oil or something in the corner. Me and David both hit it.
A disastrous turn of events as David Reagan, who had a real good chance of fighting his way into the chase, now is really going to have to pull a rabbit out of the hat.
He's on the move again in turn 1 and locks off the brakes, making contact with Kyle Busch. Kyle hits the wall.
Yeah, he slid up there and got you. That's all right. Everybody keep your emotions down here.
Now all of a sudden, Clint Boyer gets trapped way back in the field after that last set of pit stops.
I know you're worried about somebody getting around us, but you got to get up in here.
Clint Boyer's back in the middle of a hornet's nest right here.
And he's the man that's on the outside looking in.
Stay calm here. We're just fine.
Okay, you can breathe now, Clint. You're in the chase. Right, yeah.
2 former 2-time Cup champions going at it.
Tony Stewart trying to find one last gasp, but I don't think he's got it in him.
Jimmy Johnson shows he's for real.
Champ, you are the man.
Thank you, boss, for today. 10 more points.
T-minus 10, 9, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, ignition.
ESPN welcomes you to NASCAR Countdown. It's race 1 of the 10-race chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup from the 1-mile New Hampshire Motor Speedway in Loudon, New Hampshire. This chase format NASCAR began using in 2004 to determine its champion calls for the top 12 drivers in the standings to be reseeded after the 26th race based on number of wins. So Clint Boyer, who finished the regular season 12th in points, starts the playoffs 7 races higher in the standings since he's won an event. Denny Hamlin gains 3 places in the reseed, while Kevin Harvick, winless so far in 08, slides back 4 spots. Though he's still only 80 points from leader Kyle Busch, not much the way the point system works. For a second straight race, Clint Boyer will be very much in the spotlight. A week ago, the question was whether or not he could hold off David Reagan and qualify for this championship. This week, the question is whether or not Boyer can start this championship by earning the most possible points, winning the way he did here 1 year ago.
Clint Boyer has had the kind of day that only drivers can dream about.
If he can hold it together, this could be his first one this year.
I'm telling you, Dylan, I race you right. Working on it, man. You'll be all right.
Clint Boyer realizing a dream, his first Cup victory.
Get your son out, boys. Woo-hoo! Yes! Yes, yes, yes! I knew we could do it.
With Clint Boyer now in the chase for the Sprint Cup, and yesterday actually sounded like it went very well. You ended the practice saying that's where we need to be. But I got to ask you, the car seemed to be falling apart. Parts were breaking on it. What was going on?
Well, she's old, but you know, they massaged it a little bit. At first, a brake line broke, and then a starter went out. I'm like, let's just quit. We need to rebuild the old girl and give her a break. She was telling us she was done practicing, but very fast car. You know, obviously that doesn't. Anything can change. The weather's changed. hopefully we'll get it in today. And you know, without a doubt, the Jack Daniels Chevrolet is fast. I think it's without a doubt a top 5 car. We just got to do our best with it and make it a winning car.
Clint, how different does this chase feel? Last year, without a win, you came in. This year, you seem to have some momentum coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just a breath of fresh air and making the chase. You know, it's so nerve-wracking. It's been a crummy summer for us. I mean, there's no way getting around it. Definitely a huge sigh of relief making the chase. Kind of made up for that crummy summer. It's starting overtime. I mean, it really does feel like we're starting over. 70 points out of the lead, and a good run here could put you really close to that. So, you know, who knows? Maybe we'll go out there and win this thing.
Great place to start over, Alan.
It sure is, David. We'll keep an eye on Clint Boyer throughout the afternoon from our ESPN pit studio that overlooks the entire scene that is New Hampshire Motor Speedway, high atop the hillside along the back straightaway. Maybe we could rename this hill for Rusty or Brad or something. We welcome you inside. Alan Bestwick with 1989 champion Rusty Wallace, a former winner here, and NASCAR team owner Brad Daugherty. A couple of things quickly before we get into things. Qualifying was rained out on Friday. The field lined up according to provisions in the rule book. That means basically according to points. So all 12 drivers chasing the championship start in the first 12 positions on the grid. That's good. Rusty, what are these drivers, these 12 men, going to go through over these next 10 weeks?
Well, there's going to be a lot of emotions. There's no doubt about that one. But they're really going to have to focus big time. I mean, they're going to have to focus so hard it almost hurts. Yeah. And I will tell you, they've got to think about racing all the time. It's going to be #1 in their mind. And all I can tell you guys is, look, you better tell your wives, your girlfriends, and your kids, I'm going to see you in about 10 weeks, because right now it's going to take all my time. They can't have any distractions, guys. It's all racing right now.
Yeah, all these guys have to be within that box. But I'm really glad to hear Clint Boyer say that he thinks he has a top 5 car that he can try to get the win, because I would be concerned about him. He spent the last 10 to 12 weeks just toiling trying to get that car into the top 12. So this would be a great opportunity for him to just say, that's right. But he's not doing it. Yeah, but he's not doing it. He's going to go racing.
Does being in this championship affect the way these 12 guys race on the track?
Oh, absolutely it does. They're going to have to really get out there and focus really hard on the cars around them. Look, they cannot hang out with the wrong guys. They got to be with the good crowd, the top 12 guys. They can't get together with guys that are trying to win their first race and they're not looking good and they're bumping and banging. Get away from those guys, man. So you got to race them different. Absolutely.
Yeah, and theoretically, that's where you have to be. But I don't think you can be overly concerned about getting into those crowds or overly concerned about wrecking your race car. You have to go out and continue to do what got you here. Drive that thing by the seat of your pants, drive it aggressively, drive it hard, but drive it smart.
And by the way, just in case you're wondering and you're not familiar with it, that noise in the background is the big jet engines they use as supersized hair dryers, if you will, to dry the pavement on this racetrack. Working really hard to get this race started close to on time, and they're coming right by our pit studio.
And it's looking pretty good right now, Alan. Look at this.
It is.
Baby's drying out on us.
Let's talk about Denny Hamlin, another driver looking to make a championship statement in New Hampshire today. After hitting a little rough spot a month ago, he really seems to be rolling at the right time.
It's the hard knocks, it's the long shots, it's believing in yourself when you're all you got. You don't turn back, don't give in. Rising up to see the last man standing.
The grandfather clock chimes for Denny Hamlin.
Awesome job.
Hamlin's in trouble.
We just make stupid choices. At this point, we don't even deserve to be in the chase.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin, man, he came home.
Denny Hamlin, third consecutive third-place finish.
Yeah, this is the best run we've had all year. 3 years in a row. Every time we've tried, we've made it.
And since those very pointed comments, Denny Hamlin's been on a tear. Top 3 finishes ever since. How much of a wake-up call was Michigan for you and this team?
It was a big wake-up call. We knew we had to make some changes, not necessarily with personnel, but just our outlook. And I think everyone stepped up beyond the plate, myself included. I think we've really done a good job. We've executed well. Pit crew's been great. So everything's been great for our team so far for the last month or so. And I'm really looking forward to it. This is one I definitely feel like we can win.
And of course, now's when it all matters. How would you describe the performance of your equipment, your team, and everything else going into this chase?
Higher than I've ever felt, I'll tell you the truth. I've gone into the last couple chases with a little bit of confidence for sure, leading a lot of races and leading a lot of laps, just never been able to finish a deal. I feel like we're at that point right now where our race team is ready to bust out and win a couple of these chase races.
And Denny Hamlin certainly knows how to win here in New Hampshire. He was a winner here in July of 2007. Shannon?
Yeah, Mike, 3 of the 5 Roush Racing drivers are in this year's chase, including Greg Biffle, who is seated 9th. How are having 2 of your teammates outside the chase, how is that going to help your run for the championship?
Well, I think it can help us a little bit as far as, David runs so well, so if he runs up there, it can create a few positions between us and other cars. But we have to be up there to start with. We have to run good with the 3M and the dish car. So, we're running good here this weekend, so we're excited about that.
Now, you did not qualify for the chase the past 2 years. Being on the outside looking in, how is that perspective going to help you in your run for a championship this season?
Well, certainly I've been in some tight championship battles in '99 and in 2005 in the Sprint Cup. So I've had a lot of experience with missing them by a little bit. Hopefully this will be my year. And, we missed the chase by a little bit, and that's kind of heartbreaking. But we're running good enough now. Like that comment Denny Hamlin made a while back, we're not running good enough to be in right now. And then he turned his program around. Same with us. Last couple of years, we weren't really running good enough to make a difference in the chase. And I feel like we are now, and I'm excited to be in.
Yep, and of course, Greg Biffle looking to become the first driver to win 3 championships in all 3 of NASCAR's series.
All right, Shannon, thanks. So Biffle, Hamlin, and Boyer, 3 drivers who've never won a championship, setting off in pursuit of what would be their first Sprint Cup Series crown. We've talked with 3. We'll hear from the other drivers in the group of 12 who will chase the NASCAR Sprint Cup beginning today as our countdown continues from New Hampshire. But there are 31 other drivers in the field for this race looking to steal some headlines and walk away with today's checkered flag. We focus on the race as well as the chase when NASCAR Countdown continues from New England.
Tell that old boy to get his britches on. We're going racing.
NASCAR Countdown on ABC. Brought to you by Pepsi. Go to PepsiRacing.com for a chance to travel like a star to next year's Pepsi 500.
Beyond the 12 drivers chasing the championship, 31 others in the field today are looking for just one thing, a win. And they'll play any strategy game they can to get it. Kurt Busch's win here in June is an example. Tony Stewart dominated that last race here, but pitted under caution with 25 laps to go. Meanwhile, Kurt Busch's crew had him stay on the racetrack. He assumed the lead. They waved the green flag, went back at it, but then there was a crash. Clint Boyer and Sam Hornish Jr. got into trouble. While the caution was out for this crash, it started raining. The race was never restarted, and Kurt Busch took home the win. The 3-time New Hampshire victor is with Jamie Little.
Well, that was certainly excellent pit strategy on their part, but he brought a different car. You didn't bring old Rain Man back. So what do you think your chances are of going to victory lane again with this one?
Well, we hope they're just as good. We're trying so many different things to try to get our cars to run better, to turn better, have that rear grip. Basically the same setup as last week where we ran a top 10. So looking for that grip, and we learned so much week to week, it's hard to even think what we did 3 months ago. So we're just trying to get the best result with the Miller Lite Dodge.
Kurt, you're one of 2 drivers that were in the chase last year. You're not in the chase this time. How do you look at these next 10 races?
Well, we've already shifted gears. We knew that we didn't have an opportunity to make the chase a few weeks back. We've been trying to get really hard onto the bump rubber. 1 week we're really soft on the bump rubber, trying not to touch it. This week around, and from last week at Richmond, we tried some shocks and tried some rear grip. So we're working on that right now, just trying to explore as many ideas as we can, hiring a bunch of different people. And we moved over Tom German from our IRL team to take over our lead position as our lead engineer.
All right, well, he swept the races here in 2004, went on to win the championship, and now he's trying to get sweep number 2. Alan?
Jamie, thanks. Another driver looking to steal the headlines today is David Rudiman. The Florida native scored his best Sprint Cup Series finish in each of the last 2 straight weeks. And in Richmond last Sunday, led over a quarter of the event, coming closer yet to his first win. Rudiman was very quick in Saturday practice here. David, how does he feel about his chances today?
We got to find out what the secret is, Alan. I mean, the turnaround has just been incredible. Did they roll out the 2009 Camry early and give you guys one and nobody else?
No, I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it's all comes down to the folks at MWR and the cars they're building us and the support we're getting from Toyota, along with the engineers and all the stuff they're doing. I mean, we got a great team right now, and things are going going well. We've turned a bit of a corner. Still got some ground to make up, but man, I tell you, I'm really proud of these guys. And Michael Waltrip Racing is only a year and a half old, so we still got some time.
What does it feel like? Describe what it feels like to have everyone looking at the chase guys and the fast ones, and then, oh, by the way, we got to watch out for the 44 too.
Well, I mean, I hope people are saying that. I mean, we've finally started running like we're supposed to run all year, and again, that comes down to the guys at the shop, the guys at the fab shop building us new cars, and man, I'm really proud of what I've seen. I mean, from where we were last year at this time to where we are now, light years ahead, and I think the best is yet to come. So I'm really proud, and Michael Waltrip Racing right now is a really good place to be.
Led laps the last 2 weeks, Alan, perhaps again today.
All right, David did lead a lot of laps in last Sunday's race in New Hampshire. In fact, 104. He'd only led 9 laps in his previous 52 Sprint Cup Series races. 2 of his 3 career top 10 finishes in the last 2 weeks. Keep an eye on David Ruderman in that 44 car today. This New Hampshire Motor Speedway is just over a mile around, far from the longest track on the circuit, but it's tough and it's tricky. Rusty, why?
It really is. Come on, Brad, get in the car. Let's take a lap.
Let's ride.
All right, look here. A real flat racetrack and pretty wide, too, but they're running that second lane right there. A lot of passing is going to happen underneath on the bottom right here. But look at this long straightaway. It's going to be really hard on the brakes. A little bumping and banging going on this racetrack, too. You'll see that throughout the day. Things like that.
Absolutely. Like you say, it's a real flat racetrack. So what guys need to do, when they get those race cars down the bottom of the corners, it has a tendency to push. Whichever car or whichever team can get their car to change directions and stay on the bottom of the racetrack will have a successful day here at Loudon.
You're going to see some dive bombing going on, too. Diving down to that turn 1, some crashes are going to happen there.
And just remember that this racetrack, that bottom lane, has a little bit less banking than the outside lane, so most of the guys will run the top lane throughout the afternoon. Because passing someone on the track is so difficult here, what happens off the track on pit road becomes critical.
It's the most important thing of the day. You have to maintain position at this racetrack when you enter onto pit road. If you make a mistake, it will cost you tremendously. You cannot have any type of foul-ups on pit road today or you lose seconds.
Track position is just so important, like he just said. You're going to see a lot of guys maybe trying 2 tires, maybe 4 tires, not a whole lot of 4-tire stuff. But look at this gaggle of cars coming down pit road. If you can beat them out no matter what you do, that's what you want to do, because it is so hard to pass here. I just mentioned 2 tires. You will see a lot of that today.
And these race cars don't carry speedometers if you're new to NASCAR, but maintaining a certain speed on pit road could be big today, too.
45 miles an hour, and that's very slow. You got to get these things woed down, and every mistake you make on pit road costs you points. Let's remember that as we go forward.
Pit road speeding penalty today. Lost track position could be huge where the outcome of this race is concerned. We will see what role mistakes on pit road plays in determining the outcome of the race. And to continue on that theme for a minute, if you make a mistake, how you deal with it can also be very important. For that, let's go to the Chevy Cutaway car and bring in Tim Brewer. Tim?
Coming into Loudon, New Hampshire for the chase, our pit crew's going to do the same thing they've done all year. Excellent pit stops. But when you get yourself in a situation where you have an accident, you have to correct it right then. Don't leave it in a situation where an inspector has to call something on you and the crew chief has to call the guy back in to tighten the lug nut. You can't stand that. So, for instance, if you drop a lug nut off, all you have to is reach in there and tighten it. That's going to take me about a second and a half. I can afford that. But a stop and go penalty, we can't do that. Come back in off the racetrack, that's going to be devastating. We'll never recover to have success here in the chase.
All right, Tim, thanks. And let's take a look at this long pit road at New Hampshire and where you might find the 12 drivers competing for the championship making their pit stops today.
Boy, I like where Kyle Busch is at, that #1 pit stall. All he's got to do is drop the clutch, jump that line, and he beats everybody out.
Yeah, that's a great pit stall for Kyle Busch. And we also see the next guy, Jimmy Johnson. He's done a great job of getting a nice little pit selection. He's got an opening in front of him, so he's able to roll off the jacks and get right on out.
Well, you're so right. The openings are one of the most important things if you can't get the #1 spot. Take a look at Carl Edwards now. He's another guy that's got a good opening, so that's going to be easy for him to get into pits and get out also.
Got to have that space. You want to create as much area as you possibly can. And Kevin Harvick, what he did was he took the stall behind him and it's got an opening, so he can get into his pits, get that old race car squared up and angled out, and get out of there without touching anybody.
And we've got our pit patrol keeping an eye on all the happenings down there, the crucial happenings throughout this race. NASCAR Countdown, drying up the rain to add to the lobster and chowder, cooking out in the tailgate parties.
Like how you said that.
Like that? Like I was a native or something?
Yeah.
Fans stuck it out today. They're filing into the grandstands. The track is drying, and despite Mother Nature's efforts earlier today, we're going to go racing in a little while here at New Hampshire.
Chase for the Cup is upon us. 12 drivers, 10 races, 1 champion. Who will be the last man standing?
It's the long shots. It's believing in yourself when you're all you got. Don't turn back. Don't give in. Rising up to see the last man stand. Who's gonna be?
I don't
think it's necessarily going to be the guy that has the most wins. I think it's just going to be the guy that has the most consistency.
Best average finish is going to win. If you were to finish 4th in every race, you'd win the championship.
You know, the best thing to do is just try to be consistently in the top 5.
If you're top 5 every race, you're going to win the championship.
I think it's possible that can happen, but I don't think it will.
And you might have to win 4 or 5 races. You just don't know.
It just depends on the kind of year you get.
4 wins and good consistent runs, you got it.
Interesting opinions from the drivers. So how many wins over these final 10 races will it take to win the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series title? History says not many. Kurt Busch won 1 in his championship year of 2004. Tony Stewart didn't win at all in 2005 in the final 10 races. Jimmy Johnson with a single win in taking the title in 06, but then there was last year. And Johnson racked up 4 wins in the final 10 races en route to the championship. So I ask you, gentlemen, for your expert opinions. How many wins is it going to take in these final 10 races for a driver to win the title?
Alan, I think it's going to take at least 1 win. I really do. I mean, you got to be strong enough to go out there and win a race. I think you just can't go out there and not win nothing. You got to be strong enough to win 1 and just stay up on top of the game. If you're not that strong enough, I don't think you got the capability to win the thing. So 1 win.
I think you got to have 2 wins and a lot of consistency. And you got to avoid bad finishes. And by bad finish, I mean you knock the fenders and fins off that thing, and it looks like you're riding around a modified race, but it's not. Carl Edwards said it best on Monday's NASCAR Now. He said for every bad finish, you have to have 2 wins. And I agree with him. You have to be consistent, but you got to get those 2 Vs.
Interesting to hear that, because there are 5 drivers starting this championship that are in the top 12 but don't have a win yet this season. So they've got to find a way to get to victory lane, according to both of you. Now, on the other side of the coin, bad finishes, what I consider to be in the 30s or 40s. How many bad finishes can a guy have in these final 10 races and still win the title?
Well, we saw Jimmy Johnson a couple years ago right at this very racetrack where he crashed down into turn 1 and came back to win that championship in 2006. So he proved you can have 1 and get it done. You know, call it a mulligan, call it whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to say 1, and that is it.
I'm going to tell you, I don't think you can have any. I think with the competition being where it is today, and there's a little bit of parity when you get below those first 2 drivers, I think if you have a bad finish, it's Katie Bardor. You're out of this deal.
So we see somebody get turned around in the opening 50 laps here today. You think he's in a world of hurt?
I think he's in a world of hurt.
Oh, come on. You're giving up on me, man.
Well, unless it's Kyle
You
Busch.
can have 1 drop. You can have 1 drop.
Maybe Kyle Busch.
All right, we'll follow that bad finishes, a number of wins as we go through these next 10 weeks. We've talked about drivers competing for this championship who have titles to their credit. 3 of the 12 cars in the chase are fielded by a man with 6 titles to his credit, looking to finish a long climb back for his organization to the top of the sport.
Jeff Burton in the 31 car always is a factor. Clint Boyer on the move.
Harvick's been flying around this racetrack too.
Clint Boyer is going to take it to the bank. He wins in Richmond. All 3 of Richard Childress's cars now in the top 5. RCR 1, 2, 3. Burton, Harvick, Boyer.
Get down, boys! Get down!
Well, between all 3 Richard Childress Racing drivers, they have 6 wins here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. For Kevin Harvick, you said that every time you come to this racetrack, you feel like you have a shot at winning. After practice sessions, how do you feel about your car right now?
I think our car was fair. It didn't have, the great speed in it at the beginning of the run, but when you're talking about great speed, you're talking about a couple tenths with as close as all the cars here. So our Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet was, decent in practice. The first practice we were off, but these will be more like the conditions that we had before qualifying trim. So we were really good then, and this place is just all about track position and putting yourself in position and having a good day on pit road and doing all those small things right in order to give yourself a chance at the end. So hopefully we can do that. Just want to say hey to everybody in Houston and that part of the country. Just hope everybody's doing okay from Shell and everybody at Pennzoil.
Now, of course, both of your teammates are in the chase along with you. What are the positives and what are the negatives to having both of your teammates going for a championship?
I don't think it really changes anything for us. I think, obviously we can all relate to the different circumstances and pressures of getting in the chase and being in the chase. So the communication part of it for us, we all communicate really well amongst the 3 teams, and everybody gets along really well. So it's that part of it doesn't really change for us.
All right, Kevin Harvick in the chase. Mike?
And Shannon catching up with one of Harvick's teammates, Jeff Burton, a 16-year veteran, still seeking that first title. How would you describe your desire to win this championship?
Well, I mean, I've worked since I was 7 years old to try to be a champion at this level. This is what every driver wants to do. That wants to be a NASCAR driver. They want to be a Cup champion. So, it's really high. I also understand that I don't have as many years as a younger guy would have to go get it done. So the years I have left, I need to execute because I have way more behind me than I have in front of me.
Practice yesterday, you were trying to get the chatter out of the car. How good did you get the car for this afternoon?
I don't really know, to be quite honest. We, the AT&T Chevrolet on old tires was really good, but we couldn't go on new tires very well. And whenever we put stickers on, we really struggled to get going. So we were we don't know if that was because of the rubber on the track, the different rubber than what we have, or if that was sticker related, and we won't know really till today. So we've made some changes, and again, on older tires, I was pretty happy with the car, but on new tires we struggled. So hopefully we'll have the old tire setup in it, and but the track's going to be completely different when we start today. It's no telling what it's going to be like, all this rain, and we're going to have to adjust to it. But I think we have something we can adjust with.
And Alan, you can never count Jeff Burton out here in New Hampshire. After all, he does have 4 wins here.
Absolutely. We will keep an eye on Burton from the 7th starting spot today. The championship leader, Kyle Busch, his car being pushed to the grid. Bobby Labonte sliding into the picture there in the yellow driving suit. By the way, Bobby's mind very much on those from his native Texas being affected by Hurricane Ike and its after effects during the week. When we continue from New Hampshire on NASCAR Countdown, we will talk with the Big Three, Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards, and Jimmy Johnson, as they get ready to chase a championship. We return to New Hampshire after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Once we get through today, race number 2 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup is at Dover next Sunday, 1 Eastern Time, the Monster Mile. High banks, high speeds, high action. Kyle Busch won the most recent race there back in June. Our coverage presented by Principal Financial Group, 1 Eastern next Sunday on ABC. There's Tony Stewart, the 2-time champion who begins chasing a 3rd title today, not yet having won a race this season. For a driver with the desire to win that Tony has, coming close and not getting the trophy can be very frustrating.
As the leaders come on pit road.
Tony Stewart on pit road, real happy with his race car. Just 4 tires and race fuel on the 20 car. He's going to try to race the 48 off. They're side by side as they end off the end of pit road.
Great job. Jimmy Johnson comes out and wins it at Richmond.
Good job, guys. We gave another one away today. Great job. 10-4. Great attitude there, Smoke. We stalled it a couple times up pit road and gave up spots. Remember, we win and lose as a team. It was a great effort, okay? It's enough of that crap. Difference is I got mine back.
Well, that exchange between Stewart and his crew chief Greg Zipadelli, unusual for a duo who have enjoyed as much success as they have together. Of all the driver crew chief pairings competing for this year's championship, Tony and Zippy have been together the longest, 10 years. Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus have the 2nd longest tenure at 7 seasons working with each other. Our driver and crew chief team up in the booth, Dale Jarrett and Andy Petrie, join me now. The both of you believe very strongly that the state of a driver and crew chief's relationship will really impact this championship. DJ, why?
Well, Alan, you don't have to be the best of friends to make this work, but you don't have to have a good relationship. You're going to have to be able to talk as you go through this 10 weeks and make sure that you're pretty much on the same page. A lot of things are going to happen. You're going to agree, you're going to disagree. It's kind of like a marriage, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to pretty much get on the same page if you're going to make everything work.
Yeah, and the strength of this relationship, I don't think you're going to see a successful championship run without having a good relationship with your crew chief or driver. And, you've seen Tony Stewart and Zippy have great relationships in the past and win championships in the past. But now it seems like their relationship might be a little bit strained. I don't know if that's going to keep them from having a shot at winning the championship this year. And it might be kind of like those brothers. They can talk about each other, but you better not talk about them. We kind of highlighted their little spat they had last week. Maybe they'll rally around that and maybe strengthen their relationship enough to be able to go make a run at this championship.
And Tony Stewart did come out and say on Monday that, no, Zippy was right and I was wrong. You two behave each other up there so our driver-crew chief relationship stays good, all right?
Okay,
I'll talk to you a little later on for the race. Tony Stewart will take the green flag today in 8th position. Let's hear from him. Dave?
And, of course, Alan, Tony and I talked after the race last week, and obviously there was disappointment. How did you and the team rebound this week, Tony?
easy. We got ready for Loudon like we do every week. So it wasn't as big a deal as everybody wanted to make it out to be. You guys made it out to be a really big deal, and it wasn't. It's we've had an off year, and that's how we won 2 championships and 33 races, is by being competitive and not settling for second when we know we got a car that can win.
Knowing this is your final championship run with this team, how important is this chase run for you?
Oh, I mean, we all want to go out and win the championship. I mean, that's what we all sat down and said together, is this is the best way for us to end a 10-year run like this, is to go out and win a championship. So, this is a good track to us. We've always ran well at Loudon, and we ran really good in the spring, so hopefully we can start this 10-week stretch off with a good run today.
And you and Juan Pablo Montoya were having a little discussion here about how good your cars were. What'd you come up with?
Yeah, we were right next to each other in final practice as far as on the timesheet, so I think his car's pretty decent. I think we're pretty good too. There's about 8 or 9 of us that are all really, really close in time and speed, so it's just a matter of who adjusts to the conditions today the best.
The hunt for championship number 3 starts today. Jamie?
Well, 1 year ago, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was on the outside looking in, but this time he's back in the chase. Junior, after sitting out last year, what does it mean to you to be back in contention for the championship?
Well, you don't want to be one of the guys that's not in it. I mean, you just kind of feel like a second-tier driver. It's really good to be a part of the group that's really going for the championship. Makes you feel good, gives you a lot of confidence.
Now, looking ahead, this first race of the chase, there's 3 guys ahead of you. All the hype is surrounding them. It's Kyle, Carl, and Jimmy. What position does that put you in sitting 4th? More pressure or less pressure?
It's less pressure, I think, for all the other guys, because we kind of race under the radar and surprise a few people and still a few good runs. So those guys are going to be real tough to beat. I think everybody in the chase really has a great shot. They're all great teams and all great drivers. So I really, even though those 3 guys are the favorites, and that's a great argument, but I think any of the teams really have a shot at it.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., of course, consistency of virtue. This time last year, he had 5 DNFs. This year, 0.
All right, Jamie, thanks. So let's talk about these 2 drivers for a minute, starting with Tony Stewart. He is leaving the Joe Gibbs Racing team at season's end. Can he and this team, under those conditions, compete for this championship?
Absolutely, without a doubt, Alan. I remember back in 1989, that was a long time ago when I won my championship, but I was in a lawsuit with my owner, Raymond Beadle. We sat in a courthouse side by side. That was in 1989. You know what? I won the title that same year because when I got in the car and I flipped the switch on and I heard that motor running, I was all about racing. I wasn't about things outside of things I couldn't control. I just wanted to get that car flying and handling good, and I did that, and I won the title. So Tony is that type of guy. He switched on. This guy's a racer. He doesn't care about all the crap. He just wants a win, and he can do it.
Yeah, and maybe we don't read too much into what happened last week. Maybe that's a part of the norm for these guys, and we just happened to uncover it last week. And I think he's right. We have such privy into what these guys do on a weekly basis. Maybe that's the best way that Tony Stewart operates. And now we start with a clean slate, and this guy's a 2-time champ. You darn right he can win this thing.
All right, so what about Dale Jr., right? He finished 4th at Richmond last week, but that was his first top 10 finish in nearly 2 months. Can he and this team compete for a championship?
Well, I'm supposed to say yeah, because he's a quality driver. There's just no doubt about that. He's very, very good. He's one of the most popular drivers out there, but for some reason, I don't know why it is, that car seems to start out early in the run, and then halfway through a run, something goes wrong. Whether he gets in the wall, they have a problem. But the momentum is not there the second half. So I'm really puzzled, Brad, why that keeps happening with him. And if it continues, I don't think he can win this title.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I mean, I look at it, he's got a great piece he drives. He's very, very talented. But the finishes just aren't there. The wins aren't there. I think that Dale Earnhardt Jr. needs to become more of a leader on this race team. I think that little piece of chemistry is missing. And if he steps up and pulls these guys up by the bootstraps and makes more positive comments in the garage, in the race car, and leads this team, I think he can win a championship.
Be interesting to follow their efforts to win the title. Tony Stewart and Dale Earnhardt Jr. getting ready to go here today. By the way, the young man that'll take Tony Stewart's place in that Joe Gibbs Racing 20 car next season makes his Sprint Cup Series debut today. 18-year-old Joey Logano drives Hall of Fame Racing's 96 car here, starting 40th. When we continue, we talk to a pair of former champions looking to add another title to their resume, Jeff Gordon and Matt Kenseth, when we come back.
You're watching ESPN on ABC.
Monday Night Football returns with an NFC East matchup in Texas Stadium. Donovan McNabb, Ryan Westbrook, and the Philadelphia Eagles take on Tony Romo, T.O., and the Cowboys. 8:30 Eastern on ESPN. Monday Night Football. Coverage starts at 7 Eastern with Monday Night Countdown delivered by UPS. So in the 4 previous years of his chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, how did the eventual champion fare in the New Hampshire opener? Kurt Busch started off well. Took the win back in 2004. Tony Stewart didn't win in 05, but he did finish second. Close. Not bad. Jimmy Johnson had a bad day here in 06, previously documented. Finished 39th that day, but wound up finishing 6th at the Checkers in the opening chase race 1 year ago. Jeff Gordon, the 4-time champion who came close a year ago, finished second to Jimmy Johnson at season's end, sets off in search of another title here. Gordon, Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, and Matt Kenseth, the 03 champ, bring title-winning experience to their bid to claim the Cup this year.
The 2001 NASCAR Winston Cup champion, Jeff Gordon. There's the 2003 NASCAR Winston Cup champion, Matt Kenseth. Tony Stewart is the 2005 NASCAR Nextel Cup Series champion.
It's the hard knocks, it's the long shots, it's believing in yourself when you're all you got. You don't turn back, you don't give in. Rising up to see the last man standing.
Look at Tony Stewart just jamming that throttle back in. Gordon leads.
Here comes Matt Kenseth. How hungry do you think Tony Stewart is?
That 24 car makes some time.
He's throwing everything but the kitchen sink. Here comes Matt Kenseth.
And kind of an uncharacteristic regular season for Jeff Gordon. He enters the chase winless. Where do you feel like you guys need to step it up to compete for this championship?
Well, I think that the most points wins the championship. That's where you win it. You got to step it up everywhere. I think the nice thing is that everybody's sort of on a fresh start now, even though there's a few guys with some bonus points. I mean, we realistically are thinking like everybody in this chase, we can win it. And that's how you have to approach it. And then you have to take it one race, one lap at a time. This is a great track for us, and we know we can come out of here possibly a win, but also a great finish. And we've got Dover next week we can do the same with. We can get our mile and a half program a little bit better with some testing coming up. We can do it at Kansas too. So right now anything's possible.
And certainly plenty of reason for optimism. You saw your teammate go to victory lane the last couple of weeks. You led some laps a week ago. How close are you getting to being where you need to be?
Well, we're not as close as those guys, but we know what they have. We've got some tests coming up, and like I said, it seems like with this car, you can be a lot closer than you think. You think you might be a little, pretty far off. One little adjustment, one test can turn everything around, and that's how finicky this car is. So we're working really hard to find those things that we're missing. And then it's all about putting them all together. If we have the car more competitive, it seems like the pit stops are there, my driving's there, the pit strategy, everything seems to kind of fall along with that.
And Jeff Gordon rolls off 10th this afternoon.
Yeah, down here with Matt Kenseth, the guy who certainly knows how to win a championship. But last week after the race, you were very upset, said that you didn't think that you guys were going to be a factor in this chase. Where do you need to start running, and where do you need to start finishing in order for you to change your mind?
In the front, really. So far this week hasn't been much better. We got lucky the last 2 weeks with the rainouts for qualifying, but we ran awful yesterday in happy hour. So Chip and them guys made a lot of changes on the car fusion last night. I don't think we could have got a lot worse, so hopefully it'll be better today. And with the rain, hopefully the track will be a little different than what it was, and we'll be able to be okay and salvage something out of today and hopefully perform better next week.
Is there a sense of optimism, though, Matt, because you guys were able to string together some very good races in the center of the season?
Yes and no. I mean, probably not so much for today because it's been a struggle. I mean, we're still, I guess I'm cautiously optimistic. I think if we have really good pit stops, some good pit strategy, anything can happen. The rain last time, the pit strategy deal really worked out. So if we can't get it on speed, hopefully we can, figure some stuff out, maybe outsmart some people and get a good finish out of it. But there is some tracks coming up I'm more optimistic about. Next week should be a good track for us, and some of the tracks after that, hopefully.
All right, Matt Kenseth, one of 3 Roush Fenway drivers in the chase for the championship this season.
All right, Shannon, thanks. Rusty, you've won a championship before. You've been in this chase format before. And you believe these drivers' past experiences in winning championships will specifically help them in this chase. How?
It will help them. There is no doubt about that one either. And let me tell you why. I went through this. Back in 1988, long time ago again, I won 6 races that year. but I got beat by like 12 points over Bill Elliott, some number like that. The next year I thought, what am I going to do to win this thing? All I thought about was bonus points. Go out there and try to get all the bonus points I possibly can. And I did that year, 125 of them. But you know what? Dale Earnhardt Sr. Was second to me that year, and I did win the championship by those bonus points, but I only beat him by 20 points, something small. So, Brad, moral of the story, go for the bonus points. You learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's how it helped me, and these guys got to do the same thing.
Yeah, and we heard Jeff Gordon talk about that. And even though he has not had the characteristically great year, I think Jeff Gordon could be very, very dangerous, because when you listen to him talk, he puts a positive spin on every aspect of his racing team, and what they're trying to accomplish. And that mindset gives you the ability to overcome. If he can get that race car just a little bit closer to where he wants it, oh, Jeff might be looking at number 5.
Well, yeah. Jeff might be looking at number 5. That's true, Alan. But, you know, the guy's been there, done that. He has won championships, so he knows the good parts and the bad parts about what it takes to win. But number one thing right now, he's got the right mental attitude, it seems like.
Yeah.
He's really pulling for his team. But just like you said, he's got to get that old hot rod handling good.
Yeah.
That thing is not running. That's the number one thing he's got to get going now.
And they're diametrically opposed. You listen to Matt Kenseth, and he's still talking about these guys. When in the world do you drivers take any of the credit for the thing not running good? Every week when you listen to Matt talks about we're almost there, we're not quite there, it's bad, we're going to be terrible this week, we'll be better next week. When is it the guy pushing the throttle that becomes the blame?
Wow.
It never does, apparently.
You can't do that, man. We're race drivers. You're supposed to be the dudes,
Get in there and go, man.
Get under the hood. Hey, I got under the hood.
There you go.
I got under the hood. I turned those shock absorbers. I changed those springs. I didn't say it doesn't handle, fix it.
Right,
do something.
Right.
And
get in there and work on it, man.
And people like me used to hear from your crew chiefs all the time, too. Let's talk about guys who never won a championship. Oh, come on.
I could stay going on this.
I know you could. Let's talk about guys who've never won a championship. Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards, let me see, Junior, Boyer, Hamlin, Biffle, Harvick, Jeff Burton. They're all in this chase. They've never won a championship. Does that lack of title winning experience hurt them in any way? Can they still do it?
Oh, yeah, they can do it. Absolutely. I think everybody likes to be a champion. There's got to be a first for something, but I think all those guys you just mentioned, I mean, they've got a great shot to win this thing. Carl Edwards, look how good he's running. Look at Kyle Busch, how strong he's been. Do they understand the intensity they have to have, though? Do they really want it really bad? Like I said earlier in the show, hey, tell your wife and children and everybody else, I'll see you in 10 weeks, because right now I'm all racing. They've got to do that. And, Brad, if they can do that, they can win, too. But they're going to have to do that.
Yeah. And experience is just that. It's just experience. And it's a very, very important factor. But I will be blown away if Kyle Busch or Carl Edwards doesn't win this championship. These guys have had phenomenal years. Kyle Busch has been a little bit off the past few weeks. I think they've been experimenting with that old hot rod, and that's not going to change. The great seasons they've had is not going to change all of a sudden just because we're in a chase. They're going to be the cats you have to catch, and both of these guys don't have championships.
All right, you mentioned Kyle and Carl. When we come back on the New Hampshire edition of NASCAR Countdown, we talk to the big three, Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards, and Jimmy Johnson. The three favorites to win the championship before they get started in chasing that title. It's NASCAR Countdown from New England, where the seafood has been on the fryer all weekend.
Hey, cook that sucker up.
I'm trying to get some grits with mine. They don't have grits up here.
I'm getting hungry. It looks a little mean, though.
No one has ever won this race from the pole. Can he make history tonight? You can count on one finger the number of drivers in the 60-year history of NASCAR that have won 3 consecutive Cup titles in a row. The only one to do it was Cale Yarborough.
This team always seemed to be a second-half team. These guys are back in a legitimate contender.
Great work, boys. That's the way we roll.
If you're going to win the championship in 2008, you're going to have to beat that guy in the 48.
Let's go out there, relax, enjoy ourselves today. We're just going out there to win this race, boys. Let's have some fun.
With that dominant performance a week ago in California, maybe serving notice. It's about time to run for the championship.
Great job, everybody. Great job. What a day, man. These guys are awesome. Thank you, boys.
You feel like you're peaking at the perfect time?
It's hard not to feel that way.
Jimmy Johnson will start third today. That, of course, is where he is seated for this chase. And I got to ask you, only 4 wins this year. You're third in the wins category, and yet you've won the last 2. Put those 2 together and tell us how you're feeling for the start of this chase.
Well, I feel good, especially after last week's win. To win on a short track and then come to another one is helpful. The big tracks have been kind of our weak point in California. We certainly had things right, so I know that
our package is going in the right direction. We should have the speed through the chase. So I feel well prepared. I know my team's excited. I'm excited. And it's just time to start racing and fighting for this thing.
We've seen a lot of rain on this racetrack. It'll be what they call a green racetrack. What do you expect right when the green flag drops here?
I think that the track is going to be better today than what we saw yesterday. In my opinion, with all the cars on track, yesterday we had a bunch of different rubber down, and our happy hour was one of the slickest times I've ever had on track here. And this rain will obviously wash all that off, and we'll start over and just have our rubber down. So I think the track will be a bit more forgiving today, and I don't see tire wear being an issue or any problems before that competition yellow. So I think we'll have a good day of racing.
Alan, he goes for his 3rd championship in a row. And of course, only one other guy has done that in NASCAR's history.
And that would be Cale Yarborough, who did it in 1976, 77, and 78. There's Kyle Busch. Besides Jimmy Johnson, 2 of NASCAR's big 3. Carl Edwards, the other. The trio who have accounted for 18 of this season's first 26 races as far as wins are concerned, and who by most accounts are the favorites to decide this championship between them.
That 48 car is by far the best car.
This 18's on a mission.
Carl's loving this. He's looking in the mirror saying, bye-bye, boys.
The 2-time heavyweight champ is back in business.
Wild Thing wins.
It's just been hot as a $2 pistol this year.
Jimmy Johnson takes the win.
Carl Edwards will go to victory lane.
Checkered flag in the air for Kyle Busch.
And Kyle Busch finds himself seated number 1 for the first time in his 3 chase appearances. So Kyle, you know, success usually comes in waves for teams. We haven't seen much of a downside with this 18 team. How do you maintain that success today and the rest of the chase?
Well, you look towards what you've done all year long, and those things of consistency and being able to have good race cars and come back from with some adversity sometimes and keep into that and keep trying to do that. And, you know, here today we don't have the best of cars, but hopefully we've got something that we can run well with.
You guys were certainly challenged in practice. I think at the end of practice you said, I just don't know. What was it that you guys were struggling with?
Everything. I mean, we were sometimes loose in, sometimes tight in, sometimes tight in the center. And turns 1 and 2 were different than 3 and 4, and our teammates didn't have that. So don't know whether it's me or the car or both or what, but we're trying to make the most of it here. And typically when it becomes race time, we get into a rhythm. We can sometimes hit it.
All right, Kyle Busch rolls off in the number 1 spot. Alan?
All right, Jamie, thanks. So we've heard from Jimmy, we've heard from Kyle. What about Carl Edwards? He starts the chase 30 points behind Kyle Busch, a gap that could have been smaller if not for a tech inspection problem at Las Vegas in March that caused Carl controversy and cost him points.
You got good gap here. Run away with it.
For the 9th time in his Sprint Cup career, Carl Edwards will go to victory lane.
Great job, Carl Edwards. Great job.
After the race, that oil tank cover was definitely off of the car. It was an absolute mistake.
I was not complicit. Carl Edwards was not complicit.
It wasn't legal. We got our penalty.
They took the 100 points off. They took the 10 points off going into the chase. They fined $100,000.
I just go out and drive the race car as fast as I can. It's not my responsibility to tighten that bolt.
Why don't they suspend me? Why don't they keep me away from the racetrack? I'll go fishing.
And because of that penalty in Las Vegas, Carl Edwards starts this chase 30 points behind Kyle Busch instead of 20. How much do you find yourself thinking about those 10 points lost?
Honestly, not much. You know, I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. We're here in Loudon. We got 10 races to go, and you know, I just have to dig a little bit deep at some point in the next 10 races and try to get my 10 points back. But we're just gonna do everything we can. You know, we got a lot of really good things to rely on. The pit crew's awesome. The guys have been doing a great job, and I feel like if we got the setup close today, I can get it done. So it's gonna be good.
And the question might be in that setup. I mean, you had kind of a rough practice session yesterday. You slapped the wall. Yeah. How would you describe the weekend and the way it's gone?
The car was, you know, kind of pretty resilient. We didn't hurt it that bad. The weekend's not been good so far, though. You know, we hit the wall because we made the wrong adjustment, and I couldn't get the thing to turn into the corner. But Bob swears to me it's going to be good. So today's going to be a lot of fun. We're excited that the rain's moved out. My thoughts and prayers are with the Golich family. Suffered a loss this week, and hopefully we can have a good one for them.
And Alan, Carl Edwards might be tough to beat. He starts on the outside of the front row, and he's the winner of 3 of the last 6 races.
So you heard from Carl, a little uncertain about his car, and Kyle Busch, a little uncertain about his car. Looking at the big three in this race, your thoughts?
Well, right now it kind of sounds like they're struggling getting into the thing, but I really think they're going to be fine. I'll tell you why. They're both starting on the front row.
Yep.
And track position here is everything in the world. So if they're off a little bit, they got time to get it fixed, but they got that good position.
Absolutely. Track position's everything. And you heard Kyle Busch say there, it could be him. All right, man. He stays manning up a little bit. I like that. I think Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards is going to be real strong all day long. I think they're going to be tough to get around, just like Rusty said. It's going to be interesting because all the rubber's washed off the racetrack, so we got some unknowns. And you can watch somebody like old Jeff Burton, who's won here 4 times. He made and charged to the front.
Closing in on the opening ceremony. Rusty, a little what to watch for. What should we be looking for in these 300 laps?
A lot of people explain this racetrack as 2 long drag strips. I mean, the straightaways are so long here, you're going to see a lot of guys dive bombing in the turn 1 and losing it, spinning and crashing. You're going to see a lot of guys dive bomb in turn 1 and turn 3 to pass a car. Other thing you're going to see is people getting busted on pit road for speeding. So that's going to be a tough one to watch for right there also.
Oh, man, I tell you what, I think what I'm watching for is pit road. Any mistakes made on pit road will be crucial today, but I just cannot wait for them to fire up them babies. Let's go racing. I'm fired up. Let's do it.
It's about dried out.
After a morning's worth of rain, the track drying is just about complete. So the 2008 chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup is about to begin. 12 drivers, 10 races, 1 champion. First up, 300 tough laps at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. The opening ceremony is after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Whatever you've been doing to get you there, you better keep doing.
Patience is a virtue in any race. When you get into the championship run, then it becomes even more important.
When you have the entire season's work on the line, and really your life's work, it doesn't matter what position you're in, that pressure's going to be there.
You inside yourself, your competitor, your team comes to the racetrack with either the expectations to win or the hopes to win. That in itself, you can't measure.
If you try to change your strategy or something like that, if you're not careful, you get off your beat, then you really mess up.
Do the things that brought you here, that got you into the chase.
Kyle, best case scenario is 80 points ahead of the next guy. You can lose that in one race easily.
The pressure is just immense.
Right now, I think everybody feels like anything's possible.
Loudon sets the tone for the rest of the races.
Everybody's a contender, and that's what makes the chase so interesting.
The race for the championship, it starts today.
Great champions all. And so will it be an existing member of that Champions Club adding another ring to the collection, or someone new becoming a first-time NASCAR Sprint Cup Series title holder? Race number 1 of the 10 that will determine the champion for this season begins momentarily here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Our coverage presented by GoDaddy.com. The 12 championship contenders, the main story today, but just part of the field of 43 who go 300 laps on this tough mile today. As the drivers get ready down along pit road, let's check with Dave Burns.
And Alan, everyone is getting ready to start this race. With weather clearing in the area, they certainly want to get this thing in and hope that we'll be able to get all of the race in today. It looks like right now they will be able to. And one of the most interesting aspects is the challenge that all of these championship-worthy drivers face. This race car, everyone knows, is more difficult to drive than the old race car that they were racing before. It presents a challenge each and every weekend. It doesn't feel as good under them as it used to. So it's a matter of, can you drive the race car better than the next guy? And that's what they've all been facing, a very small point to which they tune to get these cars just right. And even then, it may not feel fantastic. How do you deal with the challenge, Alan? That's one of the things they'll face today.
Oh, so many challenges here at this speedway today. The close quarters racing this track provides, the high stakes for the title contenders, crucial pit stops and strategy calls to be made, and a lot of drivers with nothing else on their mind today but win. It should be a very enjoyable afternoon of racing. Despite some heavy rains this morning, the track has been dried. We are getting ready to go racing. We go trackside now for the opening ceremony.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please direct your attention to the Sprint Vision screens. Please rise and remove your hats as Denise Doucette performs the Canadian National Anthem.
Oh, Canada, terre de nos t'embrasse et porter les billes, il sait porter la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the New Hampshire National Guard All Services Color Guard as they present our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Bishop Michael Cody offers today's invocation.
Let us pray. Father in heaven, out of your infinite love, you have called us into being and daily sustain us. For the gift of life, we praise your holy name. Look kindly on your people who have gathered for this NASCAR Sprint Cup race. Be present to the drivers in today's race. Bless their families, that they might always remain united in your love. Father, in your mercy, give your protection to the men and women in the armed forces who defend our freedoms in foreign lands. In a special way, give your blessing to victims of recent hurricanes. We ask all of this through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and reigns with you in the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen.
And now, please welcome six-time Best Vocal Group Award winners, Diamond Rio, as they perform our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Well, if you'd listened to the original weather forecast for the week, you would not have been so sure this was going to happen on time today, but the drivers are getting buckled in, and we will see what happens. 300 laps at New Hampshire Motor Speedway and race one of the chase. The engines fire when we come back to New England. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series from New Hampshire. Our coverage presented by GoDaddy.com. It is race one in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup at this place, built in 1990 on the site of an old sports car course. July 11th, 1993, the first Cup race was held here. Rusty Wallace took the checkered flag that day. He's bowing up his chest sitting next to me here. Now New England's largest sports stadium hosts the first race to decide who will be this year's champion. So let's go upstairs for the call of today's race. Dr. Jerry Punch, ready to go, I assume.
We are ready. Alan, nice job down there, guys. Here's how the 12 drivers in the 10-race chase for the Sprint Cup are seated, and also how they will line up to start the race because qualifying was rained out. Folks, only 80 points separating first from 12th, so right now it's anyone's championship to win. And also note the very poor final practice performances by Kyle Busch and Carl Edwards. Hello, everyone. Along with former NASCAR champions Dale Jarrett and Andy Petrie, I'm Jerry Punch. Glad to have you with us here as skies are clearing in New Hampshire. Guys, let's talk about the chase for a moment. Now, the two winningest drivers in the series, Carl Edwards and Kyle Busch, have struggled all weekend with practice. How could that impact the early laps here today?
Well, they're starting on the front row is the first thing, and these two guys did struggle all weekend. These are the exact type tracks that have given both of these guys. We see Carl Edwards get into the wall in practice yesterday, and they have struggled on these type of tracks. They've got different setups. They're the two guys leading to the green flags. So it's going to be interesting to see these first few laps exactly what happens.
I'm with you on the first part of the race, but these guys are just too good. They got here for a reason because they are that good. These teams are awesome. They're going to figure out a way to make their cars good when it's time to go in this race. And I think that maybe they won't be a factor to win, but they're going to be up front when the checker flag falls.
Okay, that's the chase. Let's talk the race for a moment. 43 drivers in the race. Is there a driver who is a non-chaser who could play the role of spoiler here today?
Yeah, we've got 31 other drivers here. We talk about these 12 drivers in the chase, but I'm looking at Martin Truex. He has a phenomenal record at this racetrack. He considers it kind of a home racetrack for him, being from the north. I think that he's going to have a good afternoon. He's finished in the top 5 here 3 times. He might get to that first spot here today.
The guy I've been watching all weekend is Bobby Labonte. He's proven he can be one of the guys that can spoil this party for these guys because he's been solid in practice, both practice sessions in the top 5. He was good here in the spring race, and I think he will actually contend for this win. It could be interesting.
It has been 9 years since Richard Petty's car number 43 has gone to victory lane. In fact, Martinsville, 1999 is the last time they've done it. How special would it be for the Petty fans and for the sport in general to see the King's car maybe get a chance to go back to victory lane today? The drivers are buckled up, getting set for race 1 of the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup in 2008. So let's go trackside as we get set to get the command.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Senator John McCain and Cindy McCain.
Thank you. It's great to be back in the great state of New Hampshire for the first Chase for the Cup race here in the great state of New Hampshire. Keep in your thoughts and prayers those that are recovering from Hurricane Ike. Thank you for your support of the men and women who are in the military and serving on our behalf in defense of our freedom all over the world. It's great to be back in New Hampshire. Thank you and God bless.
Now, please welcome the Chief Executive Officer of Sylvania Global Automotive Lighting, Rick Lehman, as he delivers those most famous words in motorsports.
On behalf of Sylvania, gentlemen, start your engines!
Fired up, crank ready. Making decisions out there, bud. We're going to make the best decisions. Get in here, go out there, go get us a win, man. Let's have a fun day. Do what we came to do. The intensity level here coming into this chase. Let's have this chase start today for us, man. Have a good time here today. It's your track. Get forward. Good luck in the pits, guys. Be careful.
Engines have fired, and 43 of NASCAR's finest know that it's almost time to turn it loose. Today, our in-race reporter Clint Boyer returns to the scene of his dominating upset win here 1 year ago. He came here last September, starting from the pole, led 222 of 300 laps to log his very first career Sprint Cup Series victory. Field moving behind the pace car here. Good crowd on hand at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. This broadcast is available in Spanish by activating your SAP button presented by ESPN Deportes. Our over-the-wall camera guy will be a member of the Robbie Gordon crew. Rear tire carrier Zach McGowan reporting. Zach out of Springboro, Ohio. A 6-year Army veteran as a former staff sergeant, now carrying tires for a Sprint Cup team today. Getting set for the green flag. We talked about the fact that the 48 car has momentum. Jimmy Johnson has won back-to-back at California and Richmond. Clint Boyer in the 07 has been the fastest car all weekend. But guys, within the chase, I'm going to put our experts on the spot. Who's going to win this race today?
Okay, you're going to let me go first. I'm picking Tony Stewart, and I have a feeling somebody else is going to too. You know, these guys have really had a good car the last few weeks. They should have really won the race last week if you listen to them, and they did have a great car. So I think it's going to be Tony Stewart.
Andy, we don't agree much, and I know that Clint Boyer and Jimmy Johnson have been the fastest cars in practice, but I'm going to agree with you today. I've said all week that I think Tony Stewart, even after last week, I think that little rift that they had at the end of that race, I think that's actually going to work to strengthen. And it seems like in this sport, if you've followed it for years, when teams seem to have some problems, they come back and win races. So I think Tony Stewart will be right there today.
If anyone at home thought Tony was a lame duck driver and didn't care about winning, and maybe this team was sort of floating through the remainder of the year, the argument with that guy, Greg Zipadelli, at the end of Richmond a week ago, has put an end to that because they realize that Greg wants to win, Tony wants to win, and it might just start here today.
Yeah, they definitely have the fire in the belly. Both these guys do.
Coach Joe Gibbs, 3 times he's taken teams to the Super Bowl, and he would like to take his team to a championship for the Sprint Cup here in 2008. Now, what's happening right now on the racetrack is they're talking to the pace car driver, Brett Bodine, former Cup Series driver, and to some of the drivers via radio to find out exactly how soon they can wave the green flag. Still some damp areas around the racetrack.
Yeah, they've done a really nice job of getting this place dry. An hour and a half ago, I didn't think we'd be ready to go at this time, but they're getting it dry and getting ready to get the green flag here shortly.
Still have the jet dryers out, trying to dry a few extra spots here in the turns. Back in just a moment. Back in New Hampshire Motor Speedway, our NASCAR Sprint Cup Series action presented by GoDaddy.com. We have been given the official word it will be green flag next time by. Dale Jarrett, if you're sitting where Kyle Busch is sitting, what are you thinking about right now with looking at some dampness on the inside of the racetrack?
Knowing Kyle Busch, he's going to just go after it. He wants those 5 bonus points. Right now, that's the bonus points that he can get, and he realizes if he gets in there a little hard, he's got a car on the outside of him that can hold him down.
And also, these other guys want to keep him from getting those 5 points, so it's going to be good when these guys go down to turn 1.
12 drivers, 10 races, 1 championship. Who will it be? 8 of the 12 drivers in the chase in 2008 have never won a NASCAR Sprint Cup title. Could we see an upset winner as we saw here a year ago when Clint Boyer came from nowhere to dominate the day? Pace car pulls away, and as the field heads out of turn 4, the 2008 chase for the Sprint Cup is officially underway.
I can't imagine what's going to happen in the corner. You can hear them spin the tires on the straightaway right there, so we know there's not a lot of grip out there.
They were ready to go. Kyle Busch gets a great jump off turn 2.
Ticker above will show you if you are yellow, you are in the chase. That'll identify the 12 chase drivers. DJ, you went out on a thick limb there. Kyle Busch will lead the first lap.
Yeah. Brad Daugherty tells me all the time I'm not very ambitious when it comes to going out on the limb, but you just had to know that Kyle was going to get that. And what's interesting is these 2 guys we see right at the front is Carl Edwards trying to make a move up there. That these 2 guys didn't have very good cars in practice yesterday, but they sure look like they have found something. They worked hard all night, I'm sure, in coming up with a setup, Andy.
Well, one thing is the track's very, very green right now, so they're not really racing on a track like they're going to be racing on in another 100 laps. And for a few laps, you can go on tires and talent, what I call it. Just go for it. But the car will come into play here after they run about 10 or 20 laps.
See these guys 2 and 3 wide back behind them trying to find something. We see Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson there down on the inside, Jeff Gordon on the outside.
Jeff Burton's got the best view of this battle.
Got a battle for the lead here, Carl, inside of Busch.
If you just joined our coverage, he slapped the wall in practice on Saturday. Had to make wholesale changes in the setup while they were in the hotel last night, talking about what they were going to do.
Looks like it's better than it was yesterday, but this is one thing. Carl really wants to get by here and get these 5 points because he looks behind him and sees Clint Boyer. He's had the best car all weekend, and Jimmy Johnson. If he doesn't get that lead and get these points now, he might miss an opportunity.
More on Carl Edwards. Shannon.
Yeah, Carl Edwards, as he looks like he's going to go past Kyle Busch, looking to take that lead and lead those 5 points. His plan was to get to the bottom of this racetrack as quick as possible. Of course, with it being a green racetrack, being on top and starting on the outside could have been a big problem for that team. But as you guys were just saying, the car looks better here today. There were wholesale changes done to that 99 this morning. Bob Osborne told me not one part on that car was not touched this morning.
So far, Shannon, it is working for Carl Edwards, who has never had very good luck at this racetrack. In 8 previous starts here, he has only one top 10 finish. But the guy on the move now is the one we talked about. He was quick all weekend, the 07 of Clint Boyer.
Yeah, he's had a great car all weekend. He can afford to be patient right here. And I would, if I was his crew chief, I would tell him to be patient. Don't worry about these guys. We've got a good car. We'll ease our way to the front.
I think he can afford to be patient, but I think that's a key word. I'm not sure he's going to be right now. I think Clint Boyer wants to get this thing in front. He knows if he can lead the most laps in this race today, that gets him a lot of bonus points.
I remember Richard Petty and Ned Jarrett saying at the top of our show, patience is the key if you're going to win championships. But I don't guess these guys heard any of that, because here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the outside of the 07.
It's kind of interesting right now. That outside groove is working pretty well. Kyle Busch has made that work quite a bit here. See Junior up on the back of him. See Tony Stewart coming by. Tony's on the bottom of the racetrack. Seeing a lot of smoke from these splitters right now.
I just saw that. I saw that shot there. It showed the 20 car and the 18 car really hard on that splitter in the front. Jamie?
Well, Andy, at the top of the show, we talked to Kyle Busch. He said how bad his car was. Now, his crew chief, Steve Addington, told me they just couldn't make the right adjustments. They tried to fix the back and get too tight, fix the front and get too loose. Right now, though, the car seems to be pretty good. I think the rain and washing that rubber off helped him as he battles with Clint Boyer on the inside.
Yeah, so far, so good. His car does look better now than it's looked all weekend. And that starting spot up front has to help you, though, on that deal, Dale.
Yeah, there's no doubt that was a big benefit. See Kyle almost get in the wall off turn 2. Clint Boyer finally takes that second spot away. Tony Stewart's going to be right there trying to take that third spot from Kyle Busch. But starting up there was definitely an advantage. Carl Edwards has jumped out here for about a 20-car length lead right now. So it's a huge advantage for him to start out.
There's the advantage for Edwards, and the word in the garage area this morning is you got to keep that 07 behind you, because if you don't, if you let Clint Boyer get out there and maybe even Tony Stewart, as we saw back in June, they could be gone here at New Hampshire.
You see a lot of racing there, side-by-side racing. Tony Stewart, Kyle Busch, Jeff Gordon, his teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr., and their other teammate Jimmy Johnson right there behind them. Jeff Burton on his bumper. These guys are a lot more racy at the start of this race. I thought with the conditions of the racetrack, with all the rain, that they may be a little more cautious than this, but that's why these guys are battling for a championship.
Well, the track's actually in really good shape. I expected it to be a little slick, but they're running some of the fastest lap times, really, that they've run all weekend right here at the early part of this race.
I just can't get over seeing the smoke billow from under those cars and realize it's the splitters you mentioned rubbing on the asphalt at over 140 miles an hour. Check in on Jimmy Johnson. Dave.
Yeah, Doc, you may wonder why he dropped a few positions at the start of this race. Radio back to his crew, no rear grip. Looks like he's recovered since then. He's running times as fast as the leader, according to his crew chief, Jack Knaus, over the radio. And interesting conditions they had to deal with today. They were watching the weather radar as much as their notes as they set these cars up this morning. Were they going to race in the cool and cloudiness of today, or were they going to get pushed to tomorrow and perhaps a sunny day and NASCAR impound the cars overnight? That was an interesting challenge, and if they guessed they were going to race today by watching the radar, then they guessed correctly.
So you crew chiefs have got to be meteorologists as well, trying to predict what the weather is going to do, so you know what the setup needs.
Yeah, you don't know just how much you have to watch the weather, and it's just, you know, these guys are faced with that, and you got to build adjustability in the car because you just don't know what it's going to do. Looks like the guys that they guessed, like you said, to have cloudy weather, they've guessed right.
Kyle Busch is the one that looks like he's still struggling with his race car. Even though they may have made it better, I don't think that they've done the very best job of getting this car. You know, there's a couple of other guys that seem to be struggling. And one that's a little bit of a surprise, Kevin Harvick. Well, thought coming up here that he might really be the guy to beat, along with his teammate Clint Boyer. Mike, you have more?
Yeah, DJ, he has been good here in the past, but it's been a struggle all weekend long. That struggle continues. Kevin very frustrated on the radio. He has fallen back 7 positions since the start of this race, and there's trouble on the racetrack as you see David Gilliland getting up out of the groove.
38 car Mike of David Gilliland, you mentioned, did a heck of a job to save that car. He was wrecked and just didn't know it.
Yeah, I think he got a little help maybe from David Rudeman there, and that could have been just from David Gilliland slowing down in front of it. I just caught the tail end of it, of seeing it looked like it was a little contact between those two, but he did save it.
Yolen there back in 32nd. You're looking back from Michael Waltrip's car in 31st position. Look again at what happened here with the 38 car.
Oh, he got a lot of help, boy. He's lucky he didn't hit the wall with that deal.
Yeah, a lot more than in the back of him there, wasn't it? And you can see how slick that is up there. Looks like David Rudiman got in it. A lot of times you get down in the corner a little bit too hard. There's not a lot of banking there. You see Jimmy Johnson trying to make the pass on Kyle Busch, who continues to fall back.
That would be for 5th position for Jimmy Johnson.
And we talked a lot about that this is the very type of racetrack that is giving Kyle Busch and his team trouble this year, that they just don't seem to have these flat racetracks figured out where there's just not a lot of banking for them to lean on.
He finished 25th here back in June and not having a good day thus far. You're watching ESPN on ABC. Welcome back to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at New Hampshire, presented by GoDaddy.com. 17 of 300 laps in the books. Carl Edwards, our leader. Carl has led the last 14 laps after Kyle Busch led the first 3. Kyle Busch being passed now by his teammate, the 11 car.
I think the sway bar arm skipped the tooth on the sway bar.
I'll have to agree with that. I just looked at that race car, and it's rolled over a ton. You can see the right side of that car down on that 18. When he goes in the corner, see the left side raise up. You actually see the left rear hiking up in the corner. He's got a real problem right here with the sway bar.
Yeah, wow, he's just out of control there. It looks like something's broke on that car. He's got something hooked up. A bolt came out of the sway bar or something. Jamie?
Yeah, DJ, that's exactly what we're hearing. Steve Addington just getting news now, hearing something broke on the 18 car. They're not sure if it's a sway bar or not. They're talking to Kyle right now, trying to figure it out, guys. We'll update you as soon as we get more information.
Andy, how difficult is that to fix if it isn't hooked up? How much time is that going to take you on pit road?
Too much. You're going to come down and have to fix it. It's going to take a lot of time to fix. And if it's just a bolt, he's going to, he is out of control. It's going to take a while to get it fixed.
How long can you leave him out there? I mean, he's almost wrecked there coming off the turn.
Well, you don't want him to wreck, but you hope to get a caution here. You know we're going to get one at lap 35.
And we talked about this car yesterday.
Lap 35 without getting lapped here. They're getting all the stuff together.
There is a competition yellow at lap 35. NASCAR is going to throw the caution flag because of the rain on the racetrack to let everyone come in and take a look at the tires. So he's got about 14 laps to hang on.
Now he's definitely hanging on. That has got to be hard to drive.
Yeah, you know, we talked about yesterday in practice of how much more roll his car had, but this is excessive. This is showing that something is broke on this race car. Could make for a really, really long day if it's something that they really, I mean, it's going to take them time to see what it is, to just assess what the problem is, and then to go in and try to fix it.
Either way, it's going to be a setback. If they get it fixed, they're going to have to go way back in the running and try to get it back. And if they don't get it fixed, they're going to be running like this all day.
Team has had almost a flawless preseason, first 26 races with 8 victories, and now they struggle here in the first race of the chase. Well, here's the guy you talked about, Smoke. Tony Stewart going by to take the second spot away.
Smoke really likes this racetrack. He gets around here well. We see more cars still passing as Brian Vickers.
Wow, that car's all, but see, you can see just how much those cars want to roll.
Wow.
And when they do, they just turn the back end loose. When you see that much roll, it's just all the weight is dumping on the right rear of the car.
Yeah.
Let's go down to the Chevy cutaway car and let Tim Brewer tell us how this is working.
Hey, Andy, I think I'm going to disagree a little bit. I don't believe the sway bar arm has come off the sway bar itself. What I think, Andy, back in this area right here where we hook it to the lower control arm, I think the bolt's out of it. And if that bolt comes out, the car's going to turn over a lot more, just like the arm's not hooked up. But if that arm were dragging the racetrack right now, you'd see a ton of sparks coming out from under it, and I don't see that right now.
That's a great thought on that, Tim, because I guess if you would probably see some sparks underneath the car, we don't see any at all. Jamie.
Guys, Steve Addington, crew chief for Kyle Busch, said, let's try to wait it out. Let's wait until the competition yellow at lap 35, as long as we don't get lapped here. So right now, getting all the tools together, hanging on, guys, trying to wait for lap 35.
Kyle Busch is doing everything he can. He's driving this car as hard as it'll go. You can see how hard he's driving the thing.
He has lost 19 positions in 25 laps and just hanging on, trying to keep it out of the concrete. We are 10 laps away from the competition yellow. Carl Edwards, the leader at New Hampshire. Night Football returns with an NFC East showdown in Texas Stadium as Donovan McNabb, Brian Westbrook, and the Philadelphia Eagles take on Tony Romo and the Cowboys. Monday Night Football on ESPN at 8:30 Eastern Time. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern with Monday Night Countdown delivered by UPS. Carl Edwards, our leader here on lap 30 of the Sylvania 300 at New Hampshire. 5 laps away from the competition yellow, and now Carl beginning to put some cars a lap down.
He's coming up on Patrick Carpentier and Bill Elliott and Joey Logano are these next 3 cars there. These guys are going to try to hang on for these next 5 laps. See Joey Logano right up there just in front of Bill Elliott, and we talked about kind of his goal for the day was to kind of get the experience, kind of stay out of the way, and not be a factor in this chase guy's quest to get a championship. Shannon?
Yeah, guys, I spoke with Joey Logano's crew chief this morning. He told me that they really struggled in practice this weekend. He worked all the different lines on the racetrack, and it was just in an effort to get him comfortable in that car. Of course, you guys know laps is what this man really, really needs on this racetrack. And despite the fact that he's had so many laps in testing in this new car, there is nothing like real race experience, as you could probably attest to, Dale.
Yeah, you can go test and run all you want, and it obviously is on different tires too, but getting to the real thing and getting on these racetracks is a totally different scenario.
You know what makes it really tough? Is those other 42 that are so good.
Yeah,
when you get here, they're good.
A little bit of history here. Awesome Bill Elliott in the Wood Brothers car number 21 trying to hold on.
Yeah, he's looking at that scoreboard and he's saying, if I can make 2 more laps here, we're going to have a caution and I can stay on the lead lap.
And the biggest thing, Bill's saying, if I can at least just hold him up long enough he doesn't lap another car, I'll get the free pass. So there's a couple of things going on there.
So far, so good. Carl finally gets him clear here.
Now Bill Elliott's pulling for Joey Logano to stay in front of the 99 so he can get the free pass. There's Tony Stewart in the 20 car being shown in second position, about 0.8 of a second behind Carl Edwards.
He's steadily catching that 99 car really this whole run. Now that Carl's in traffic, he's able to really catch him.
Yeah, and I have to say, I'm really impressed with Carl Edwards and this race team. That they started up front there. Their car was just not that good in practice yesterday. So he and Bob Osborne sat down and they came up with something really good for these guys to run this well at the beginning.
Carl putting Logano a lap down. There's the 88 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr. being shown in 3rd position. He's about a second and a half back.
Caution's out, corner down here.
The first caution, a competition yellow. NASCAR allowing all the teams to come on pit road, change tires, take a look at the Goodyear rubber, put fuel in the car. And for this guy, obviously a lot of repairs to that front sway bar, whatever is broken.
Well, the first thing they have to do is diagnose the problem before they can fix it. They've got a couple of ideas and where they might think that this problem is, and they've got to quickly dissect that and get something in place to repair it.
I believe Joey Logano stayed in front.
And then let me know. Come around, do the left so we know what we have ready when he comes back.
It's just what you were talking about, Andy. They're going to get in there and see. They're going to change the tires and be able to see in there if exactly what it is. And what they hope it is something as simple as a bolt in the sway bar that they can put back in, or it's actually in the sway bar arm that attaches to the A-frame.
I'll tell you who's hoping it's not a bolt in the sway bar. It's the guy who had that on his checklist.
Yeah.
Here is Kyle Busch on pit road. He's the first one to come down the pits.
Okay, pit road's closed, but he's coming anyway, and it's a good move. That's what I would have done. Gives you extra time to work on this thing. They'll have to start at the tail end, but they're going to be there anyway. Jamie?
Gosh, guys, Kyle Busch, not a happy camper riding around in the back, getting really frustrated how everyone was racing him back there. You see the team going to work, brought out all kinds of tools, an entire sway bar here. You see him looking underneath. Steve Addington, crew chief, looking over everybody. Remember, Steve Addington, this is his first ever chase race. Not a way he wanted to start. They're looking under there, looking at each other. Not a lot of communication with what they're seeing. You see him changing the 4 tires, left sides here for the 18 car. Let's go to Dave as they continue looking at this car. And Kyle Busch, guys, they didn't do anything. He's just down and away. Dave?
Jimmy Johnson fell to 7th, raced his way back to 4th. They're going to make a track bar and wedge adjustment. 2 tires on the right side. Shannon.
Nog in the middle, 2 tires for Carl Edwards. They did an air pressure adjustment and a track bar. Jamie Little.
And Tony Stewart pulls down. Remember, he's been thrilled with his car all weekend. Not any changes planned for the 20 car. Right side tires there, left sides. Only he moved his way from 8th to 2nd. He's down and away. Guys?
2-tire strategies. Track position so important in a racetrack where it's very difficult to pass. You see Ryan Newman, the big gainer, on this pit stop. Kyle Busch back on pit road. Now he is being held a lap by NASCAR for pulling up to the front of the field to get back on the pit road, and now he's lost another lap because the field has gone by while they make repairs on the left front of the car. Another Joe Gibbs driver, Joey Logano, driving the 96 car this weekend, was brought back onto the pits because, take a look at, he brought the jack with him, and you can't remove equipment from the pit box.
Yeah, the guys just took off a little quick and got the jack hung on the stop, and it pulled it out of the pit area. He said you can't have any mistakes.
Leaders are in turn 3. They will be coming green. Kyle Busch down and away, and he will be 2 laps and about 3/4 behind the leader, Carl Edwards. Only one car that's was a lap down. That was Patrick Carpentier. There's Carpentier on the inside, and here goes Tony Stewart sneaking a peek, but he will fall back in line behind Carl. We commented with our guys in NASCAR Countdown about how many bad finishes you can afford to have in the chase. And right now, Kyle Busch has put himself behind the 8 ball here with trouble early on in his car at New Hampshire.
Yeah, he's definitely behind. He's really only 1 lap down and a little bit. Those guys got away from him on that start. The bad news is I'm not sure they've got the car fixed. It looks like it's still rolling quite a bit.
Remember, only 80 points separating these 12 drivers coming into the day, so you see where Kyle Busch is dropped now from the lead back to 10th place in points.
Yeah, they worked hard for 26 races to get those bonus points and get themselves in that position, and all it takes is one little mistake by something happening, a part breaking, or someone's overlooking of something, and you see the position it puts you in. The good thing is it's the first race of the chase. They have 9 more.
Remember what Rusty Wallace said in Countdown? He said Jimmy Johnson 2 years ago came here in the 48 car and finished 39th, but went on to win the championship, so it can be done.
Well, it definitely can be done. You know, there's a lot of racing here to go today. We don't know what's going to happen with these other guys, so you know that's a little early, a little premature to be talking about all that, but we have to point it out and see exactly what happens and how the rest of this day progresses. And Andy, looking at their race car out there, I'm not sure that they got the problem fixed is the biggest thing.
Yeah, I don't think they did. I think they tried to get it fixed before we went green, decided to go ahead and put the hood down and try to, just get back out there. Jamie, what did they get done?
Well, Andy, they fixed the sway bar bolt. That is indeed what snapped. Now, is that the extent of the issue? We're not sure yet. Kyle's just trying to get a feel for the car right now to see if it is fixed or not. But, guys, all the other Joe Gibbs Racing teams from Tony Stewart, Denny Hamlin's team, all down here looking at the problem, keeping an eye just in case something is going wrong with their cars. Yeah,
they've not got this car any better. It's still running very slow lap times, still rolling over quite a bit.
If I'm Tony Stewart or Denny Hamlin, what I want to know is, did something break? Did the bolt break, or was it just not tight and attached in the first place? If it broken, I'd be concerned because they all use the same parts.
Yeah, it's not likely they broke a bolt right there because I'm sure these things are engineered not, to be plenty strong enough.
Let's go down to our tech center, Tim Brewer.
Jerry, the last thing we hook up, folks, on a race car after we come off the scales is the sway bar. What we actually do here, we put this bolt through the heim joint and affix it to the bracket right there. That's the last thing you do because you want to put that bar in a neutral state. Now, if somebody says, hey, wait a minute, let me go back and adjust that wedge just a little bit, maybe the guy just didn't go back and tighten the bolt. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, I wasn't quite ready to throw that guy under the bus, but that is probably the most likely thing, Tim.
Jimmy Johnson going by Tony Stewart to take second spot away. Carl Edwards still leading, has pulled away since the green flag this time to about a 2nd and a 10th lead. There is Carl ahead. There comes Carl off the turn.
Jimmy Johnson and his team, they were very fast in practice. We see this team, they're on a roll. They have all that momentum on their side, and we're getting word that that bolt was broken on Kyle Busch's car, that it wasn't something that was left out. So that's interesting. But
that's what I would say too. Yeah, but I've seen a lot of them come loose, and I've seen very few of them break.
Yeah, and he is only one lap down right now. The lap that he lost sitting there in the pits was the lap that NASCAR was holding him. They were able to work on the car during that time. So right at this point in time, he is one of 2 drivers that are 1 lap down in this race.
More on Jimmy Johnson. Dave.
In that last pit stop, Doc, Jimmy Johnson held position. He restarted in the 3rd spot. But crew chief Chad Knaus was not happy with the condition of their pit box. It was wet. It was wetter than the others around him, he noticed. And so he asked his guys to get out every fan they had, every air blower like you used to blow the leaves off your deck. Everything out there to try to dry out this pit stall before the next round of pit stops. Again, he held his position, but it was very slick coming in, very slippery heading out.
And we got a good shot of Clint Boyer trying to get out of his pit stall, and he could not get any traction at all, and it looked like it cost him some spots.
Carl Edwards has won 3 of the last 6 races we have run headed into the chase. He has been that good. In fact, the last 4 races he has run, he has outpointed Kyle Busch. And he now takes the top spot in the points. Carl trying to get his first win ever at New Hampshire.
Race number 1 in NASCAR's version of a playoff, the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at New Hampshire. Coverage presented by GoDaddy.com. 10 races, 12 drivers competing for 1 championship. Right now, Carl Edwards is out in front. He has dominated the first 54 laps of today's race. You see the top 5. Edwards second in points starting the day. The man that was in front of him in the standings, Kyle Busch, still struggling with an ill-handling car. Kyle right now 43rd on the racetrack. Jamie, what's his crew chief saying?
Steve Addington, we're talking about the bolt being broken, but he still isn't making up much ground. What else is going on with the car, Steve?
Well, right now, till we get this fixed, we're going to be pretty much junk. It broke the left side high on the sway bar. We've never had that happen, but first time for everything here. We're going to work, try to get back up here, hopefully get where we can race them and get some of these laps back.
Being that you've never seen this happen, do you feel there is a way to fix it and gain some more points here?
Oh, yeah, we'll get it fixed. You just need to catch a caution here before we get too many laps down.
All right, guys, a situation this team is not used to being in this year.
Strange things that can happen when you're racing for a championship. For example, Jeff Gordon. Rusty Bradley talked about pit road being such a crucial place for this race. When you lose spots on pit road, it's one thing. When you lose spots because you think somebody else maybe did you wrong, that's another.
Well, take a look at these. See Robbie Gordon getting, kind of hangs the tail out, and Jeff Gordon actually has to back up to get the car out of pit road. And when that happened, he lost about 5 positions. Just like you said, Brad, pit road's going to be a problem today.
Absolutely. Steve Letarte goes over and has a healthy discussion with the Jim Beam Racing team. He says, hey, guys, you got to give us some more room. Get Robbie in that box. Get him squared up. We can't be backing up like this. That costs Jeff valuable time and points.
Jeff's catch can man had to get out of the way before Jeff backed him into the car that was pitted behind them. So Gordon now out there in 12th position, and he is 9.6 seconds behind the leader. Little race for position 5th and 6th. Denny Hamlin, one of the guys that took just 2 tires on the first set of pit stops. Dale Earnhardt Jr., the first guy on the racetrack, along with Clint Boyer, 88 and 07, that took 4 tires on the stop, trying to make up the lost track position because of other strategies.
Well, track position is everything in the world, but I'm watching the lap timers right now, and actually Carl Edwards is outrunning these guys by about 0.2 of a second. So at the moment, it's not paying off.
And Junior going to try and put the slide on Denny Hamlin, and so Junior moves his way up into that number 5 spot. So the guys on 4 tires trying to pick their way back to the front. And right now, Doc keeping an eye on both. Carl Edwards in the lead and Kyle Busch, who's running last.
Alan, if you're Carl Edwards, you got to be smelling blood right now. You know, if you can pedal that car up there and somehow put Kyle Busch another lap down, that is insurance on a racetrack and a car that's been almost unbeatable throughout the regular season of the year.
Oh, yeah, I know he's seeing the back bumper of that 18 just saying, let me get to him. I want to put him another lap down.
Yeah, you can see it on our shot right there. The guy that's in 4th is Kurt Busch. I'm pretty impressed. You know, he won this race earlier, won a race here earlier this year, but it wasn't because he outran the field. They had some good strategies, but he looks like he has a really good car today.
Jimmy Johnson's actually running the fastest lap times at least the last lap. That track position is so important. You know, those guys that got 4 tires, you would think would be able to zoom up on these guys, but for some reason at this racetrack, you know, just having that clean air seems to make so much more difference than tires.
Jimmy Johnson, one back-to-back coming in. There is the 2 car you were talking about, DJ. Kurt Busch flashing by.
Yeah, we see Jimmy Johnson here getting a lot closer to Carl Edwards. Looks like they were going to have a battle for the lead here in just a matter of laps. Dave?
DJ, there was a telling sign during that first run for the 48. He started out with no rear grip, but through that run, the side bite came back, the grip was returning, and the entry was okay. They only had to make a slight adjustment with that 2-tire change on that last stop. I think he's got a really good race car. Shannon?
Yeah, Dave, right now, Carl Edwards' spotter is telling him that the 48 is faster in the center of 3 and 4, so that right now is where they're seeing Jimmy Johnson beating Carl Edwards on the track. Right now, that car is pretty good for Carl Edwards. He says it's just a little bit tight in the center. Remember, he's on 2 tires, guys.
We can see the 2 drivers running totally different lines here. You see Carl Edwards enter the corner as we go to come down the front stretch. Carl Edwards is going to stay out a little bit wider. Jimmy Johnson is going to carry a little bit more speed into the corner, let his car roll. Carl kind of gets out of the throttle and gets it pointed back across the racetrack out of the corner and carries more speed there. So where Jimmy's beating him, it's in and to the center. Carl Edwards beating him on the exit of the corner.
Watch with our Wrangler telemetry, see if we can see exactly the throttle as Carl Edwards picks it up, and there's Jimmy just right to the rear deck.
And you see how Carl's having to baby that throttle just a little off the corner. Now he's wide open. Car's turning a lot of RPMs, 9,300, hard on the brakes. Key here is try to get off the brake pedal as soon as possible. Let the car roll through the middle of the corner.
You can see him working the throttle, and even as he gets up into the corner, out of the corner, you really have to work it. I know it sounds crazy that once you get to the straightaway there almost that you're coming out of the throttle, but you come up on this wall that it flattens out so quickly that most of the times we see Jimmy Johnson trying to make the pass here for the lead, yet you have to come out of the throttle a little bit, and that's where Jimmy is starting to beat him a little bit more down on the very bottom. Carl lets him go now, not going to press the issue.
Jimmy Johnson becomes the 4th different driver to lead at New Hampshire today. There have been 3 lead changes among 4 different drivers. Jimmy Johnson now showing the way. Back in a moment. ABC's Emmy-nominated Dancing with the Stars returns Monday, September 22nd with a 3-night live premiere event. Warren Sapp, Misty May Traynor, and Maurice Green are among the 13 new stars competing in what promises to be the biggest and most demanding season yet. Only on ABC. Tony Stewart easing in on the 48 car. Jimmy Johnson is the leader. Stewart has yet to lead today.
Tony looks like his car really comes on after they've run about 20 laps or so. He may have the best car in a longer run. We typically have some of those longer runs up to, and possibly even green flag pit stops at this racetrack, ain't it?
Yeah, it almost looks like a rematch of last week, you know, the closing laps in the race at Richmond. Here Tony is trying to run down to 48. And looks like Jimmy is running up on the racetrack just a little bit more than Tony.
Tony has not won a race in 2008. His last win coming back in August of 2007 at Watkins Glen. Let's take you up to speed with our chase driver, starting with Jimmy Johnson and Dave.
Guys, last week he did not lead the race until lap 367, getting it done a little bit earlier in terms of getting those 5 bonus points here today. He fights off the same guy he had to fight off at the end of the race last week, and we expect another great battle. Jamie?
Well, Tony Stewart's been really happy with this car all this weekend, but the one thing they were trying to make better is get it to turn better in the corners. Greg Fidelli, his crew chief, told me this morning they were better off when they came to Loudon last time, but he said they just can't get her to turn, so that's what they were working on the last pit stop. 4 tires and actually no adjustments, but the car looking good, Shannon.
Jamie told you guys just a few moments ago, Carl Edwards just a little bit tight in the center. Here's what he had to say on his radio to Bob Osborne, his crew chief.
If I get in, it's a little snug, tight in, roll on the brakes. Across the center, a little tight, rolling. And right here, when I'm back on the gas, while it's loaded, it's a little tight there, and there's some speed there. It gets a little, frees up once I get out of the center, and I'm up on exit.
Carl Edwards, definitely a driver who capitalized on the rain out in qualifying. He struggled in practice this week, but of course got to start second based on points. Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. right now running 5th. He said his car was awesome in practice. Coming into this week, he said he loves the pressure of the chase. The car right now for Dale Earnhardt Jr. just a tiny bit snug. They made a half-pound air pressure adjustment on the last pit stop. As you see him get a little bit loose coming off the turn, they are going to make another air pressure adjustment on the next stop. Jamie?
And behind him, Denny Hamlin started 6th, running 6th right now. I talked to his crew chief this morning, Mike Ford, and you know, Denny Hamlin back a few races ago just said, we don't deserve to be in the chase right now. He was so frustrated, but his crew chief told me after that, we have done nothing but pick up our heads. We communicated as a team. We knew what our problems were. It's all out the window. They finished 3rd every race since then, guys, and they continue to forge ahead. Right behind him, Cliff Boyer in the 07. Now, he started off strong. He was up there battling for the lead, but his grip has gone away. He's loose. He said he's loose in, tight off, and that's what he's struggling with. They made a small air pressure adjustment on that last stop for Cliff Boyer, as his car seems to be about the same. Dave?
Jamie, Greg Biffle's team has done a little extra testing at a track very much like that this week. They didn't think they made any significant gains right away, but Greg Irwin, his crew chief, told me that after they poured over the data and applied it here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, by golly, it worked pretty good, and they've got a good race car. Behind him, the 31 car of Jeff Burton has been tight so far today. They didn't make any changes on that last stop, though, as the car sort of came around to him there at the end. And the 24 of Jeff Gordon, you guys showed it on the screen. The 24 getting blocked in just a bit by the 7. That was their major concern on the last stop. Jeff has picked up 1 position since that restart, but he's going to have to watch it. Hopefully put a little bit shorter and get the 7 to cooperate a little bit more on the next pit stop. Mike?
And it's been a struggle for Kevin Harvick since the drop of the green flag. He fell back immediately, losing 7 positions. He fell as far as 22nd. He's now up to 17th, but the car is just not handling well. He radioed into his crew chief, Todd Barrier, not too long ago and said, we need to figure out what we did since the first practice. This car has not handled well since we unloaded and finished that first practice. Car very loose and was bouncing throughout the course of practice on Friday afternoon and Saturday. And that's not a good thing for him, Dave.
Mike, on that first run, Matt Kenseth described his car as snappy loose off, and that's not a very good thing. They pulled a spring rubber from the right rear of that car to try to help that situation. Since the restart, Kenseth has tried using the high line just a little bit, but he said, I just can't go up there. I wreck almost every time I try to do that to go a little bit higher on that line. So he's trying to find the best place to run. Jamie?
And Kyle Busch, 43rd right now. It's kind of hard to make up positions when you're 2 laps down. That is tough, especially here at Loudon. Only 5 times in NASCAR history have all 43 cars finished on the lead lap. And right now, if he's sitting 43rd, no other cars drop out, guys, that's exactly where he's going to finish.
Thanks, guys. There's the leader. Jimmy Johnson has now led 1,000 laps this year. This is the 29th of 41 chase races that Jimmy Johnson has led. He has 11 chase victories over 4 years. Could it be win number 12 as Jimmy Johnson holding off Tony Stewart here at New Hampshire? Trouble at New Hampshire. The top chase contender, Kyle Busch, has been involved in an accident. Spun the car around. Contact from Jamie McMurray there in the 26 car. Heavy damage in the left front of McMurray's Ford.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happened. Kyle Busch spun by himself, and then David Reagan and Jamie McMurray came along a little bit after this and actually created another accident, I believe we'll see in our replay. But then the 26 got into the back of the 18 and really caused a lot of damage.
Yeah, it seemed like it was a long time. You know, the 18 spun around, no damage at all, just sitting there, and then all of a sudden these 2 guys got together. And then the 26 car, Jamie McMurray, got into Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch was already 2 laps down by virtue of having a hind joint bolt broken, having to come on pit road, and a 1-lap penalty from NASCAR. He lost another lap on the racetrack, just barely hanging on, and finally looped it around, coming up off the corner. And then there was contact from 2 other cars. Here's what happened.
Well, he's been trying to do this by himself all day with the problems that he's had, and finally the car just got away from him. There's a lot of smoke there.
Everything's fine right here. You can see he's down in the grass, no damage. Gonna drive around here now and get some tires, try to fix this bolt, and then bam.
Murray, yeah, he and the 6 car had contact before Jamie went spinning. You see the 6 car. He is back there.
A lot of smoke, you know. David Reagan might not have been able to see through it, probably just slowed down too much, or slowed down enough that he could see, and then he got hit.
Yeah, I'd say there's a good chance that David Reagan just stopped because he couldn't see, and then Jamie McMurray couldn't see him stopped, and that's how all of this happened.
Corner, got one in the middle of the track. Go low, go low.
Yeah.
Spot that 6. Now you got one low.
Yeah.
That's what Kevin Harvick saw, which was a lot of smoke and a lot of damage on race cars. Kyle Busch in. Let's go down today. Triple pits.
Leader Jimmy Johnson pulls onto pit road into a dry pit stall up there on the top. They will make a chassis and air pressure adjustment and get it full of Sunoco fuel. Shannon?
Yeah, Dave Dale Earnhardt Jr. says the car is freeing up on him on this run. They made a track bar adjustment, air pressure, 4 tires for the 88 team. Jamie Little.
And Tony Stewart in his pit box said he just needs to cut the corner just a little bit more. They made a track bar adjustment, 4 tires. Good stop for the 20 car, guys.
Second caution flag of the day, and here's the race off of pit road. This time they all get 4 tires. Earnhardt Jr. good stop, gains a spot. Biffle up 2, Kurt Busch back 3, and Matt Kenseth, you see the adjustment there, up 9 positions. Kyle Busch hanging on to the steering wheel and gets popped again on the racetrack. Back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Getting set for the green flag here at New Hampshire. Jimmy Johnson is the leader. Moments ago, Tony Stewart had to come back on the pit road because he had rubbed a fender. We'll show you what happened to Tony as he was exiting his pits. He did not lose a lap. He is on the lead lap, but he is just now trying to catch up to the rear of the field as Jimmy Johnson and Dale Earnhardt Jr. lead him down to the green flag.
Jimmy acting awful racy here on this restart, like he wants to get some bonus points.
He had a good car right before that caution came out. He was one of the cars that got 4 tires. Looked like those 4 tires were starting to work for him. Now all these guys have 4.
Earnhardt Jr., remember he led 90 laps last week at Richmond, which is 3 times the laps that Jimmy Johnson led. Now he wants to lead at New Hampshire.
I was going to say, you think Jimmy let him lead this lap? But I don't think that's what that was. Junior just took that.
No, we're in the serious part of the season here now. There's no letting anybody get anything. These are guys that you're racing. Doesn't matter if you're teammates or not. You got to race these guys. Every point counts now.
Earnhardt Jr. becomes the 6th different leader today.
This is good to see. You know, we questioned, was this team going to have the heart and desire to get back up there? They've fallen off, even though they had a good run last week at Richmond. Were they going to be able to continue that into the chase since they had about 5 or 6 weeks that weren't so good for them? And it's nice to see this.
We mentioned Tony Stewart had to come back on the pit road to have that left front fender pulled out. He is way at the back of this pack and has a long way to go. That is the car actually he bumped as he was trying to get out of his pits. Let's show you what happened here on the previous caution flag.
So he's ready to go as the 70 car of Johnny Sauter comes in and just didn't quite get enough room there coming out, and he just caught the edge of the fender.
Let's listen to his radio.
No worries, one at a time. One at a time. Good job, guys. Sorry, guys. That's the best I can do getting out there. Or we'll try and back you up just a little bit more next time, okay?
It's going to be a long, hard road up through this pack at this track.
Boy, it is. And I'm not so sure that the damp pit boxes didn't have a little something to do that with that, too. He was spinning the tires, but he wasn't getting the car turned as much as he needed to right there. So that's unfortunate for those guys. But as I say, still got a lot of laps to go. Make as much as they can out of this today.
45 car right in front of him was the one that got the free pass, by the way. Chad McCumbee subbing for Kyle Petty. So Tony Stewart now trying to get around him. Tony back in 34th position. Jeff Gordon mired back in heavy traffic as well as Bobby Labonte tries to follow Jeff by Joey Logano. That is 14th, 15th, and 16th. Logano, by the way, being shown a lap down in 40th position. Jeff Gordon remarkably has not won a race in 2008 after 81 career victories. And we asked Jeff about the biggest challenge this year thus far.
I think the biggest challenge that we've had this year is just sheer out speed, comfort, and a car underneath me that I feel like that I can drive to the front or stay up front with.
Well, that makes it difficult when you just don't have the speed in you. You start trying to overdrive, and then you start overanalyzing things and making a lot of changes trying to find that speed.
And you know, when you say, hey, it's just speed, that's hard to fix. I mean, you really got to go to work on problems to get the car faster, and it's you know, it's kind of hard to just fix a slow car, I guess is what you would say.
Dave?
And guys, they've been asked this question a lot, but I asked its crew chief Steve Letarte again this morning, okay, what about using the 48 setup? They're leading, they led a lot of this race, they're very fast. And Steve says, and I quote, we photocopied the 48 setup. We can't run theirs, they can't run ours. The drivers are just a little too different in what they want in a race car.
Third position, the 2 car, the one that Dale Jarrett said he was impressed with the run early on. Kurt Busch continues to impress, going by Carl Edwards to take that spot away.
Yeah, he lost a couple of spots in the pits, I think 3 actually, and falling back to 6th spot, but he's making it up on the racetrack. See a battle here between 2 chase guys with Clint Boyer and Matt Kenseth. Looks like Clint Boyer is going to get the best of that battle down on the inside.
That would be for 8th spot. Right behind him, Juan Pablo Montoya, who was one of the very good cars, Montoya's Dodge, and Casey Kane. Both those cars were very good in the final practice on Saturday.
Yeah, and here's the 42 cars in the top 10 right now and still going forward. Both of these cars have been steadily moving up.
Yeah, they've both been hanging around. As we see, Clint Boyer hasn't made that pass on Matt Kenseth yet, but Montoya and Casey Kane have both been around that 9th, 10th, and 11th spot, so good runs for those guys.
Matt Kenseth just got 2 tires that last stop to gain some of this track position, and he's holding up pretty well. I'm surprised he's able to hold off this 07 of Clint Boyer.
Casey Kane having a pretty good run after missing the chase and the disappointment a week ago. Mike.
And with that disappointment, Doc, they may have something to prove. After all, they're the only team outside the chase with multiple victories, and they know if they were in the chase, they'd have a chance at making some noise and possibly walking away with the title. Now they're forced to try to salvage the season. I spoke with Kenny Francis this morning, and he said, well, there is a silver lining. He says now we have the freedom to take a little bit more chances and gamble a little bit, and that may enable us to get to the front and do some things that these chase guys can't do, Dan.
Mike, right in that mix is the 42 of Juan Pablo Montoya. Tight race car today. They made track bar adjustments for that. Crew Chief Brian Patty doing kind of a fantasy racing league thing here. He told me this morning, we put ourselves in the chase. I said, huh? He said, no, we put ourselves in the chase. Our goal every week is to finish ahead of 3 of the chasers. We want to finish 10th in the chase in our world. We're going to do it. We're going to be aggressive to try to get there.
Guys, the 1 car is being very aggressive. That is Martin Truex Jr., who was your sleeper, DJ.
Yeah, he's looking pretty good here. He's kind of been steady, battling his way up there, and trying to work his way into the top 10 right now. So a good run. Martin has shown over the last couple of years that he really enjoys this racetrack, and I think that they can definitely still be a factor for this. A long way to go. Got just 100 laps complete, 200, and he's worked his way close to the top 10.
Truex has finished 3rd, 4th, and 5th the last 3 times he has been here. Pretty good at this 1-mile racetrack.
Yeah, this is one of his better tracks, but he's got a lot of laps here. He's run a lot of races on this track, and it's always better when you come back home, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And we see right behind him is Kevin Harvick, who has been in a major struggle before or throughout this first 100 laps. We heard talk about how loose his race car was and needing to make adjustments. Looks like they've made some pretty good adjustments to where he can move forward now.
If you just joined our coverage, Kevin Harvick started 11th, and then when the green flag waved, he promptly started dropping back, went all the way back to 22nd position. This is the closest he has been to the top 10 since then. And that is right now 11th, 12th. He is 13th on the grid. $103 laps in it at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, race number 1. And the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, and it is Dale Earnhardt Jr. who is showing the way. Earnhardt Jr. has now led 14 laps. You're watching ESPN on ABC.
A third of the way home in today's NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race from New Hampshire. Coverage presented by GoDaddy.com. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is out in front. One of 5 different championship contending drivers to lead a lap in today's race. Our AT&T Crew Chief Challenge: which driver that missed the chase this year has the best chance to make the 2009 chase for the Cup? Junior missed the chase last year. He's contending for the championship this year, leading the race right now. David Reagan, Brian Vickers, Casey Kane, Ryan Newman. Text the word crew to 191 on your AT&T wireless phone and send in your answer. Results to be shown later in the race. Standard text rate applies. So Junior with a 1.5 second lead on Jimmy Johnson, who runs second. Want to go back and just touch on Kyle Busch for just a moment. Kyle now, after the wreck you saw a few moments ago, is back on the track after repairs. But look where he is, 8 laps down.
Yeah, 8 laps down. It's going to be impossible for him to make this distance up. There's no doubt about that. This could possibly be the time he has to use his mulligan, guys. We talked about how many bad finishes can you have. Looks like this is going to be the one for him.
Absolutely incredible. They just got off to a horrible start today, and it really puts them behind the 8 ball. They lose their advantage of the bonus points. Jimmy Johnson, as we see right now, has moved into first place. 2-time heavyweight champ, is in a familiar position. We're going to see how fragile this race team is as we go from here.
So Kyle all of a sudden finds himself back now 11th in the championship standings as the race runs for the moment. While his brother Kurt not in the championship, but Doc having a pretty fine day.
Having a very good day, trying to sweep both events here. Won it back in the spring by virtue of rain, and a brand new car here, Jamie, and it's responding.
It is responding, and Kurt Busch was the first to say, you know what, we're reorganizing this entire Penske team. Tom German, he's the engineer for Helio Castroneves. Doc, you know him very well. Well, he ended the IndyCar Series last weekend. He's moved over to the Cup Series, and Kurt is saying this guy is going to turn things around. They have a new car here. He said things are already coming in place, and right now, because they're not in the chase, they're focusing on looking ahead to next year and winning races. Dave?
Well, Jamie, Greg Biffle's team, we talked about their testing. One of the reasons they wanted to do that is because New Hampshire hasn't historically been one of their great tracks. Next week they go to Dover, where Biffle has been quite good. So we talked to Greg earlier about what momentum would mean, heading there or anywhere else in this chase.
Just the momentum we've had to get in. The guys are fired up. It's like we've already won. We've already won a race, it feels like, because that race was to get in.
That last pit stop, 4 fresh tires, tight in, loose through the center. They made an air pressure adjustment to get it better, and you see he's gone around the 2 car.
Dave, Greg Biffle's one of the guys we haven't talked a lot about as being a contender in the chase, but the last time he made the chase, the only other time he made the chase was 2005, and he finished second, just 35 points behind Tony Stewart for the championship.
Yeah, we had him in the pit studio the other day, and he seemed very confident that he could make a run at this championship. And he must have known something here that we haven't seen a lot of, even though they've been coming on better. This is a very impressive run as he's moved into the 3rd spot and running lap times that are very comparable to what Earnhardt Jr. and Jimmy Johnson are running right in front of him.
Let's don't forget, this is a championship driver we're talking about. He's won the championship in the Nationwide Series and in the Truck Series. And if he would do it here, that would, he could just round out his little resume.
Yeah, definitely has the talent, and it looks like that he's gotten himself surrounded by the team that it's going to take to do that.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. is our leader here at New Hampshire, lap 114.
Let's put another lap on Kyle Busch.
Tuesday at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, it's the 90-minute Wipeout season finale. The biggest hits, the biggest laps, the biggest wipeout of the season. It's TV that hurts so good. The 90-minute season finale of Wipeout Tuesday, 8 Eastern, 7 Central on ABC.
That's a crazy show. I don't know if y'all have seen that, but that's great. That's fun to watch. I love it. Getting my kids and Kelly, and we had a great time watching that.
Looks like Kyle Busch has already played one round of that today.
Let's check in on the Dale Earnhardt Jr. progress. Shannon.
Yeah, Doc, Dale Earnhardt Jr. took the lead on lap 89, but you've got to give a lot of credit to his crew guys. Those over-the-wall guys got him in and off pit road in 13 seconds after the pit stop. Rick Hendrick came over the radio and congratulated all the guys. Track position is so important here, and as long as you can get it done on pit road, you certainly can get that track position, as Dale Jr. has proven.
Andy, we've seen this before, though. We've seen him, in the first part of these races, first half of these races. It's going to be interesting to watch as he moves forward and see exactly if they can continue this throughout the day.
Since the restart, Tony Stewart has gained 10, make it 11 now positions. He came back out in 34th position and now moving his way to 23rd. Jamie.
Well, Doc, on that last pit stop, he came in second. He had a little damage with that 70. They had damage on the left front. But he got mired back in the traffic, and then he radioed into his crew chief, Greg Zipadelli.
Get me nervous. Nice and smooth. Now take care of your stuff. Let them come to you. Just step back, baby. But show the show. It'd be fun. I don't know what you were nervous about. I was in here with these guys. I should have been the one nervous.
Certainly a different Tony Stewart over the radio than we heard 1 week ago, Doc. Having a little bit of fun, keeping, everybody pumped up. We're still in this, guys. Don't give up. We're here as a team.
DJ, as a driver, have you experienced that where you have a blow up all of a sudden, you just get down and get face to face and communicate, and suddenly things are really, really good?
Have to do it if you're going to be in this business. And the two things that we've seen, talking about different Tony Stewart, they're both what make Tony Stewart a champion. He has that drive and desire to be the best out there and want to have a win. He doesn't like to see that get away, and then to come back and be this person that can be the upbeat guy that they need to hear at a time like that too.
And also is the experience that he has. He's got experience in these situations. He said one car at a time. Let's go back here and get him one car at a time, not wreck the car, not overreact, and that's what he's doing. He's made up a lot of spots since that mistake, and still early.
Drivers win races, teams win championships. Can this 88 team keep it together? They had crew mistakes at Watkins Glen. They had driver mistakes early on at Bristol. They are mistake-free right now at New Hampshire, and they are the leader of the race. Back in a moment. Dale Earnhardt Jr. currently leads the Sylvania 300. That's the separation between himself and Jimmy Johnson in second spot. Greg Biffle moving in on that battle.
Junior ran up on some traffic. This battle got real close a few laps ago, and then once they cleared the traffic, Junior was able to stretch it a little. Here comes Biffle on the inside of Jimmy.
Hey, well, this is pretty impressive. Greg Biffle's run these two down. He's had to go through the same traffic they did, so it's not like he's just taking advantage of that, even though I think guys were racing Junior a little bit harder because him being the leader and trying not to go a lap down or a second lap down in some cases.
You heard Dave tell you earlier, this has not been a good track historically for Greg Biffle. His best finish is third. He's never won here, but you wouldn't know it by watching how this car is just working in the corner coming off here today.
Yeah, we say things like that about drivers not having good racetrack, and these guys are all good. If you give them the right car, they can be great everywhere that they go. So he just hasn't gotten to that point of having the car that he liked yet, but that's changing here as he goes into second place now.
Top of your screen, the ticker, the second line, by the way, shows you the points in the chase as Biffle takes that spot away. Jimmy Johnson right now atop the chase points. Edwards in second, then Earnhardt Jr. and Biffle fourth. Pretty good runs from some drivers who are not in the chase. We haven't mentioned much about the 28 car of Travis Quapple, the Yates Racing effort, but he was running in the top 10 for much of the first 75 laps. So why don't we bring you up to speed, starting with Travis in 15th spot. Shannon.
Yeah, Doc, Travis Quapple right now, the car has started to tighten up on him on this run. Now, he's had some success here at this track in the Truck Series at Loudon. He's 6 starts, 5 top 10s. Certainly knows how to make his way around New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Jamie.
And Shannon behind him in the 43. Bobby Labonte, he's been here for all 27 races prior to today, and he was running at the finish in 26 of those. Bobby Labonte has a good car. He's had a good car all weekend, but his thoughts have been with his friends and family in Texas. He hails from Corpus Christi, Texas, of course, just struck by Hurricane Ike, so he's been thinking about them, but right now Bobby Labonte sitting 16th. Mike?
And David Ruderman coming in here with very high hopes on the heels of back-to-back career best finishes, both top 10s. Today, though, has not gone exactly as planned. The car starts off loose, then gets a little bit tight on exit. Right now, he's running outside the top 15 in 17th position, Dave.
And it's been a tough day for Brian Vickers to keep up at a track he really likes. He sat on the pole here back in July of 2005. But you know what? It's been a good day for Red Bull Racing. Overseas in Formula One. Brian was watching a recorded version of Sebastian Vettel's first victory for Red Bull overseas today. He had to pause it because he had to go sign autographs. He came back later and cheered his teammate in Formula One on. Shannon?
Yeah, Dave, you know, a lot of the chase drivers were relieved when qualifying qualifying was rained out because they got to start at the front. Well, for Casey Mears, as crew chief Alan Gustafson said, it probably hurt them. He felt that they could have qualified much better than they did. They had to start 25th this race. They started very close on this setup. They were very good. But right now, as they go on, the car gets to be a little bit loose. Now, for Scott Riggs, who's running right behind him, Scott Riggs has struggled this season. Only one top 15 this entire season. So really looking for a good run here today. The car has been tight all race for Scott Riggs. You guys, his best finish here is 10th in 2006, so he certainly knows how to make it up into the top 10. Mike?
A.J. Allmendinger was having a pretty solid run until a mid-run pit stop where he got blocked in by Reed Sorensen. Since then, he's been struggling to get back up into the top 15. Car still a little bit loose and tight in the center, still trying to dial that car in. Meanwhile, Eric Almirola right behind him, a young driver with a lot of potential. I spoke with his crew chief, Tony Gibson, this morning, and he said he told them two things. Be patient and take care of your brakes. Those were two things he noticed that Eric did not do back in June when he raced here. So far, the car pretty good, just a little bit tight, Jamie.
And chaser Tony Stewart continues to stay calm as he picks them off one at a time. He was mired back in 35th after having to pit again to fix that left front tire or fender damage. So they fixed that. He's working his way forward. Tony Stewart, two-time winner here in Cup. Remember, he won here in the Nationwide Series back in June. He's also won here in an Indy car back in 1998. Mike?
Jamie, it's been a bit of a struggle for Reed Sorensen running outside the top 15 most of the afternoon. No front grip. The car's just sliding around. They've made several adjustments on pit stops, including pulling a spring rubber, air pressure adjustment, and a track bar adjustment. The car just has not gotten much better, guys. Shannon?
Yeah, David Gilliland started this race 26th, guys. He said track position here means everything. He says he feels like this is a pretty good track for him, despite the fact his finishes have not shown it. They did go back to the Phoenix and Richmond setup for this race. The car has been tight all race. Mike?
Jimmy Fennig, crew chief for David Reagan, told me this morning that he feels like his driver can make a lot of noise in this chase, especially here in New Hampshire. Unfortunately, things have not gone exactly as planned. They went testing with the rest of the Roush camp earlier this month, and they thought they had learned some things. For them, though, things have not gone the way they had planned. The car has been tight most of the afternoon, and they have struggled outside the top 20. Shannon?
Yeah, Ryan Newman on that first pit stop, he was too fast exiting pit road, so they had to go to the tail end, and he has worked his way through the field right now, as you can see. Now, for Ryan Newman, of course, this is his last season with this team, so that 12 team, they are looking for wins. According to his crew chief, they have nothing to lose and everything to gain. It's all about winning a race. Doc?
Great job, guys. And the final car on the lead lap is that 55 of Michael Waltrip, coming off what was a very good performance last week at Richmond. All three of Michael's cars were actually in the top 5 at one time at Richmond, and Michael's trying to hang on to the lead lap being shown back in 28th position. But right behind him, there comes Earnhardt Jr. moving in to try to put him a lap down. We are 14 laps away from the halfway point in race number 1 of the chase for the Sprint Cup. We asked you earlier our AT&T crew chief challenge question. If you could pick which driver that missed the chase this year has the best chance to make the 2009 chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, did you pick David Reagan, Brian Vickers, Casey Kane, or Ryan Newman? What do you think, guys?
Casey Kane, maybe? Nope, David Reagan.
David Reagan, wow.
These people pay attention out there. There's no doubt about that.
He almost made it this year, made a big announcement on yesterday that they would have UPS coming on board for sponsorship in 2009. So a lot of people, David, believe you're going to be the man in 2009 to make it a chase.
That's a great deal for them to get, and for David to get that UPS sponsorship. I was fortunate to have that since 2001, and it'll be a good deal for them and good for UPS to have a young driver like that.
Wonder if he'll drive the brown truck as well.
Probably not.
Here's the guy who's driving the competition crazy right now. That's the 88 car, Dale Earnhardt Jr. He is the leader, and that's looking back from Michael Waltrip's onboard. Michael just trying everything he can do to hang on to the lead lap, each being shown in the 28th position. Shannon.
Yeah, Doc, right now, as you can imagine, Dale Earnhardt Jr. very happy with that car. I'm hearing right now that they don't plan on making any changes. Of course, that could change before the next pit stop, but right now, happy with the car. The last couple weeks, Dale Earnhardt Jr., of course, was flying a little bit under the radar. He said this week that he kind of liked it because at the beginning of the season, it was a little difficult to concentrate. He had a little break during the summer, and of course, last week in Richmond, this week as well, coming on strong for that 88 team.
I'll let him in on a little secret. He's not pretty hard for him to fly under the radar. I think everybody still has an eye on him, and we're keeping up with what he's doing. He might think that he is that, but this is an impressive run for them today. Great way for them to start the chase and making changes. Wow, this race car, he's gotten out to a little over a 4-second lead.
We thought the 48 car would be the guy with the momentum coming in, and he was an early leader, but he's had his hands full here with the 16 car. They've just been going back and forth here every other lap.
They're having some fun out there. They swapped this spot about 2 or 3 times. They catch a little traffic, and then they kind of sort it out, and then they race a little bit. All the while, Dale Earnhardt Jr. just eases away from him.
Yeah, that's the thing is Junior's beating him about 1/10 as they battle right there as we see David Reagan on pit road. A little bit early probably for a pit stop, Andy, but it won't be much longer before all of these guys are going to have to come in.
Yeah, next 10 or 15 laps we'll see them, but this is what we call a short stop, that they would probably come in here and get 4 tires. They've just gone down a lap, so
this racetrack where pit strategy can really play a big role, and we're talking about how track position is so important. What do you do now with this next stop, guys?
You know, Andy, Doc, we were just talking about that, calculating some laps ahead. Once these teams make this next pit stop, they're set to go to the finish on just one more stop, and now we'll begin to set up the strategy games for that last pit stop.
It opens up some windows, Alan. Exactly right. For guys to put 2 tires on if they want to, the gains from track position. I've been watching Tony Stewart. He's been pretty well stalled out back there to 22nd position, not getting much done. So if you get in the back, man, it's going to be hard to get to the front.
Yeah, Tony had a fast race car, so I think you're absolutely right. A 2-tire stop may be the optimum thing to do just to get that track position to maintain till you get to the end of the race.
All right, Mr. Crew Chief up there, what are we going to do here? Going to start to see some strategy games, not on this stop necessarily, but that last one?
Yeah, this stop here, they'll probably get 4 tires because they got to get a full load of fuel. The key thing here is they need to get past about lap 160, 165 on this run so they can set themselves up for maybe one more stop to the end. You know, they're thinking about the end of the race right now.
Yeah, I'm going to, I know you guys are looking at the monitor, they're saying that Tony's kind of stalled out, but his lap times are really good in comparison to what Dale Jr.'s doing, and he's back there having to pass not only lap cars, but cars that he's racing with. So I think he's doing an excellent job. He's got himself in the spot. He can just get a little bit of a break.
Remember the question that we asked Gil Martin, our crew chief here at the In Race Reporter, would you gamble today? And he said, absolutely. You got to gamble at a racetrack like New Hampshire to get the win. Halfway. Back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Michael not giving it up easy, hanging on.
He was trying to do that when we went to break. So you can see Michael's got a good car. Junior's going to have a tough time passing. We see these 2 guys still battling. They're swapping this back and forth. See, Greg Biffle's literally right down on the very bottom, and he comes on to pit road there. You see how close they can be. If you remember back to the first race here, Dale Jr. was coming to pit road, and someone, Jamie McMurray, running on the bottom of the track. He didn't realize that and ran all over Junior. These guys are pitting awful early, Andy.
Yeah, this is kind of surprising. I'm not sure why they're pitting so early. Dave?
Greg Biffle hits his marks good and well, and that's a good thing because he's battling his brakes right now. Has been easy on them the last few times around this track. Half a round down on the track bar. Car is just a little bit loose. 4 tire change for Biffle, and keeping an eye on those brakes that are important every time you go into a corner.
Biffle away. While we were away a moment ago, Juan Pablo Montoya came in, as did Casey Kane. They made pit stops very early from the window we were calculating. Denny Hamlin coming down, the 11 car, one of our chasers.
We're going to have to see a lot of these guys get in here. They're going to have guys that are going to be way faster than them. Jamie?
Denny Hamlin said he has more confidence in his pit crew now than ever in his career before. He's had a couple of good stops already today. He said he's getting tight in the center where the rubber is not yet laid down. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment, 4 tires and fuel for the 11 car. Guys? And the 43 of Bobby Labonte in his pit box. His one and only top 10 came at this racetrack back in June. He's been happy with the car. 4 tires, fuel, small adjustment there on the 43. And he's down. Dave?
Jeff Gordon is on pit road. Bad loose off was his comment on that car. So they're going to make an air pressure adjustment for Jeff and a 4-tire change. Try to get this champion back in championship form. Jamie.
And Kurt Busch looking for the win here today. That's all he's going for. They're making a wedge adjustment, 4 tires and fuel for the 2 car. He's down and away. And Clint Boyer in his pit box as well. He said he's just loose. On that last pit stop, they made a wedge adjustment. He said, guys, I need to get back, take that wedge out, 4 tires and fuel. Shannon?
Yeah, Jamie, Dale Earnhardt Jr. took the lead on 89. No changes for this car right now. Very happy with the setup on this 88 car. 4 tires, as you see those guys on the left side. And for Carl Edwards, who's pitting right behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. right now, the car starts to go away a little bit on the run. They're going to make some changes to the chassis and an air pressure for Carl Edwards.
The 48 of Jimmy Johnson is in right now. This car was tight in the center of the corner, so you see the wrench being turned there. They'll make that chassis adjustment, air pressure as well for Jimmy. That last run, not their best run so far. A little skaty at the start of the run as well, so they're going to try to use that air pressure adjustment to help the beginning of the run on the 48 car.
car, Tony Stewart, they're being notified by NASCAR they were too fast on exit of pit road in the final segment. 50.3 miles an hour, and it is 45 miles an hour on pit road, and so Tony Stewart will have to come down. And we talked about the fact that you don't want to be caught speeding in the pits. Here he comes to serve that penalty, a pass through.
Yeah. You actually get 5 miles per hour over that 45, so he, by 0.3 of a mile an hour is what they got him for. That just shows you how close it is and how close these guys push it. But not something they could afford, because he was only probably 6 or 7 seconds in front of the leader there, and this is going to put Tony a lap down.
Has to serve the pass-through penalty. Now is able to get back in the throttle and try to get back on the racetrack. 16 car, Greg Biffle being shown as our leader. We talked about you cannot afford mistakes in the pits here today, particularly as hard as it is to get track position here.
Yeah, you see how his air hose hung on that splitter? Jackman got hung up too there behind the tire changer, but they recovered well. They made a decent pit stop here, as it turns out. And that's the key thing. They did make a mistake.
Thankfully, the tire changer had a helmet on, because he got popped in the top of the head by the guy carrying the jack. One of the reasons why they wear helmets over the wall.
He had about almost a 5-second lead before those pit stop exchanges started, and Biffle came out in front of him, so that did cost him quite a bit of time on pit road right now.
Greg Biffle in the 16 car is the leader. There's the difference.
Biffle got on pit road just a little quicker than these guys too, a little earlier, so he had a couple of laps on fresh tires on this 88.
If we stay green now, they will be one more pit stop, and that'll be the money stop. We'll talk about what you might do when we come back. You're watching ESPN on ABC.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series on ABC. Brought to you by Walt Disney Pictures' new comedy, Beverly Hills Chihuahua, in theaters October 3rd, rated PG. DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV. And Lotramin Ultra, the one-week killer cure for athlete's foot.
Overcast day in New Hampshire. Rain that started about 4 a.m. this morning moved out about 11:30 local time. The track was dry. The race started within 15 minutes of its scheduled time. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. is now back out in front at lap number 169 of 300. Junior had fallen back to second on the exchange of pit stops with Greg Biffle, but just a moment ago, Junior back around Biffle on the racetrack and reclaims the top spot. Now, while Junior's hanging out at the front, Jeff Gordon, one more time, has a little issue on pit road that has nothing to do with the performance of his crew.
Oh, yeah, makes one more pit stop right here. He comes in the pit spot, not really nothing wrong, slides in, gets stopped pretty good right there, but he has no idea that Robbie Gordon's coming in right now. Robbie stops short, and Jeff's got to get the tires changed on this 24 car, put it in reverse again, and back up. And when he does that, he lost another 5 positions. Really killing that team.
All clear, all clear, all clear. Careful. Just go do what you do. Go do what you do. You'll be fine. Clear all the way up. Clear all the way up.
So Steve Letarte there talking to Jeff Gordon about the situation on pit road. Jeff is back in 13th place. Now, we told you a minute ago Tony Stewart had to come back down pit road for a speeding penalty on his green flag stop. That has put Tony one lap down. He came off the penalty in 30th place. He's picked up one spot since, so Stewart running in 29th. And key thing here is Stewart is the 4th car one lap down. He's got to pass 4 more guys to get in position to get the free pass and get back on the lead lap.
And he's a lot faster than those 4 guys in front of him right now, so the speed ought to be pretty good. He should get himself up there.
And this the race for 3rd spot as Denny Hamlin tries to hold off Jimmy Johnson. While those guys fight it out, let's go back and just take the quick look of how Dale Jr. got back by Greg Biffle for the race lead.
Tell you what, Dale Earnhardt's got a great race car today. He's led 76 laps. He's strong. He gets to the inside, Rusty, doesn't give up the position, is able to keep that car down there. It doesn't push, and he goes right back around over Ed.
So 129 laps to go. It is Junior out in front. Right now, the first 4 positions held by drivers competing for this championship, Doc.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to hold off, actually going back around the 16, as you mentioned, of Greg Biffle. But the last time Biffle got past, he just moved right back in and repassed Jimmy Johnson. See if he can hang on. Jimmy Johnson in a battle of his own with Denny Hamlin. Let's check in the pits, Dave.
Jerry, keep in mind what we reported during Biffle's pit stop, that he has a braking issue. The pedal goes to about an inch from the floor, Greg reported, during that last run. So after Junior came storming back up to challenge Biffle, crew chief Greg Irwin just told him, save your stuff for right now. We got a long time till the end. And if you've got an issue like that, you want to make sure you've got some brakes if you want to challenge at the end of this race.
You know, one thing that can happen right there is Greg's forced to get off the brakes, and he might actually run faster lap times by having to drive the car a little different. It looks like his car's pretty good. There goes Jimmy, back around the 11th.
3rd position for Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin had come out in front of Jimmy Johnson on that exchange with the pit stops there. He had made a good stop, and now Jimmy's gone back by him. We see Greg Biffle battling Dale Earnhardt Jr. Yeah, it might have helped him a little bit to get behind someone and back off a little bit. I'm sure he had to use some brake right there getting down in the corner, but that's a difficult thing to do when that brake pedal's going to the floor. Man, it makes it hard to drive, especially here. You don't want that brake, what we call pulsating, so you don't know how much you need to pump it up and how much you can push it down and how much they're going to react to the input that you give.
I don't know how many times I've seen that happen. You know, when you have a little problem with the brakes and you have to back the corner up, in other words, back off the throttle a little sooner, don't use as much brake, you actually will start running faster lap times and the car comes around for you. And it looks like that's what's happening with Greg. His car's kind of woke up.
Watch Dale Earnhardt Jr. out the window. So watch the signal in the car.
He said, okay, I've had enough.
See, yeah, Junior a little bit loose off of that corner, so he's actually maybe fighting his car a little bit right now and doesn't want to press the issue, so he lets Greg go on by, doesn't want to have that pressure on his bumper. Yeah, that's the kind of things that you do that win you championships.
Being very smart, knowing he had 124 laps to go before anybody was going to win this race. Greg Biffle making the chase for only the 2nd time in his career, is being shown as the leader here at New Hampshire. He has now led twice for 8 laps. Can Biffle get it done and pick up win number 5 overall in chase history? Next week, the chase continues at the Monster Mile, the 1-mile high-bank concrete oval that can crush chances for a championship in a heartbeat. Coverage begins 1 o'clock Eastern time on ABC. NASCAR Sprint Cup action presented by Principal Financial Group. Working lap 182 of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at New Hampshire, presented by GoDaddy.com. Kevin Harvick, I guess you would sum up his day to say that it's been quite a struggle.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a struggle, but he's not too bad right here. Junior's struggling hard to get by this 18 car. Kyle Busch has made it really difficult for Junior to make this pass on him to put him another lap down.
Yeah, Kyle Busch hadn't run his hard all day from the very beginning. Now he finally moves over to the inside. But I think he got his point across. Think that's got anything to do with last week's little incident?
Yeah, I guarantee it does.
What What about the 16 car, Greg Biffle, and the brake issues they were concerned about? Dave.
We're going to go up and try to get Greg Irwin. He gave me the thumbs up a second ago, but as you can imagine, every lap at this racetrack is very, very busy, and he's giving times to Greg as he comes by so that Greg can monitor that data. Did he back up the corner since his brakes are having a little issue, and did that pick up his lap times?
Probably. We're out there just kind of taking care of it right now. We know we've got another 115 laps to go. Probably going to back his corner up a little bit, and really, I think the track's coming to us. Our car's just been a little better after about 30 laps. It takes us about 25 laps to get going, but Turbo HD car is doing pretty good.
Greg Irwin leading the charge for Greg Biffle today.
Backing up the corner, really just backing off the gas a little bit sooner, and then you let it float in there, and that lets you get on the gas just a little quicker than in the corner. So that's what we call backing it up. Just that off-throttle time, you back it up earlier in the corner.
Yeah.
For more on the brake issue, let's go down to our ESPN Tech Center, Tim Brewer.
Thanks, Jerry. Folks, what we've got right here is a 6-piston caliper. Reason we developed that caliper, we need more grip. But along with that, we put a bigger brake pad in there. But with our cutaway caliper right here, anytime the pistons go out, you have more fluid in here. Now, the weak link in a brake system is the fluid itself, because when this stuff starts to boil, that's when that pedal gets real soft, real spongy, and like DJ said, it goes to the floor, and that's a bad feeling here in Loudon, New Hampshire.
Yeah, that's not a lot of fun, but that's a great explanation, Tim, exactly what happens for our fans out there. Greg Biffle, you back this corner up sometimes, just like you're saying, it helps you out. You can cool that down, and then it'll give you something to race with later on if you get in that situation and having to race. Let's see how much brake he's using. You see he's on it pretty good, but then he's getting off the brake. That's very little pressure right there when it gets down to those last 2 or 3 bars. Picking up the throttle off the corner, whatever it was, it's definitely worked. For Greg Biffle to get to the lead.
Or with a Wrangler telemetry, you can actually see him just jump on the brake and then back out real quick.
Yeah, I'm actually watching to see where he's getting off the throttle and if he is actually backing up the corner. But right now he's trying to fight by this 84 car. He may have to use a little more brake to try to get by these cars to get that position on him getting in the corner. You can see he's still backing off fairly early getting in the corner.
Wasn't it Dale Earnhardt Sr. had always said you could slow down to go faster if you back up the corner sometimes and let it get in, although I don't think he ever slowed down for anybody.
The only time he ever had to do that was when he lost the brakes, and then he'd have to back up the corner.
Tell you what, we used to run Martinsville all the time. If you wanted to save the brakes, there was only one way to fix it, and that was to get down and get out of the gas early and just coast into the corner a lot. You could call it backing up a corner. If you back up a corner, generally you get back in the throttle earlier. But in this case, guys, I think what's going on is just actually getting out of the throttle earlier and coasting to try to save them. And I totally agree with what you said. Sometimes you can run faster like that, but I believe that's what's going on right there.
Yeah, I can remember Todd Parrott telling me, DJ, you need to just feather it in, just ease it into the corner. We see Jeff Gordon making a pass on Juan Pablo Montoya. And we were trying to save fuel a few times. He told me to do that, and my lap times picked up. He said, I told you need to back out, and I did. And so sometimes we can be a little bit hard-headed, but that looks exactly like what Greg Biffle has done here, is backed it up, and this car is going faster.
88 car sliding back a little bit, still going backwards. He lost the second spot to Johnson, third to Hamlin, about to lose fourth place to Jeff Burton.
That's what we've been talking about this 88 team. They start these races off so well. I mean, they were the best car head and shoulders the first half of this race, and now they're struggling just to stay in the top 5.
Yeah, it's been a common theme for these guys. And, you can get a set of tires that just doesn't agree with your race car. And we've also seen some sunshine here. We've probably got the highest temperature and track temperature.
Shannon?
Yeah, Andy, it was like you were down here in the pit stall listening in on the radio. That is exactly what Dale Earnhardt Jr. is struggling with right now, those tires. And he said exactly what you said earlier this week. He said that this team really has struggled to keep up with the track and to be competitive, as you see him get a little bit loose right there, and to be competitive throughout the entire race. Right now, hopefully on the next pit stop, those guys can go to work on give him a new, better set of tires for that 88. Dave?
And on the other side of that, the 31 car obviously pleased with the set of tires they have under it and reduced air pressure in the right side tires on that car. They've been playing that game most of the afternoon, and it's been improving the car for Burton. This morning, crew chief Scott Miller told me, you know what, we may be lacking in overall speed against the guys who are really hot in the series right now, put together top 5s, top 6s, or anything like that, they might be able to win this chase. Right now, they are fourth.
You know, we haven't heard much from Clint Boyer in the 07, and he had the quickest car in all 3 practice sessions. We heard the comment that when he came on the pit road for that last stop, he had been fighting a loose race car all day.
And here he is running behind his teammate Kevin Harvick. And I didn't see this coming, Dale. This car here has been so good every single practice session at the top of the sheet. I mean, heck, we'd already gave him the trophy before the race started, and here he is running 10th.
Yeah, that's why they run the races. We just don't know what's going to happen. And again, these track conditions, and you mentioned this early, Andy, that in a couple of hours, this racetrack wasn't going to be the same one they started on, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now as the sun has come out just a little bit and the track temperature's gone up.
Hearing the 12 car of Ryan Newman that's being passed pretty easily there, may have lost a cylinder running down on 7 cylinders there in the Penske Dodge.
Yeah, this thing's not up to full song right here. All you can do is just kind of ride this thing out.
Valver spring and dropped it going into 3, and then from there on out, it never picked up the 8th one.
We have been green here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway since lap 89. Less than 100 laps to go, and now Dale Earnhardt Jr. in jeopardy of losing the 5th position.
See Kurt Busch there has had a solid run all day long. He's fallen back just a little bit from what he was, but Jr. really struggling with this set of tires.
Remember the encouragement that Rick Hendrick gave Dale Earnhardt Jr. at the beginning of the day? You can do it, trying to pump his driver up. Tony Eury Jr., the crew chief there, watching the 88 car, knowing that they really wanted to get this chase started off on the right leg. And there is Rick Hendrick behind him, hoping so much that maybe the 88 car could finally catch fire after that top 5 finish at Richmond a week ago. But it is far from over, folks. We still have lots of laps to go at New Hampshire. Back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Points in the chase for the Sprint Cup as they run right now. Jimmy Johnson would be the points leader. Carl Edwards would hold on the 2nd spot. Big jump there for Greg Biffle, who is our race leader, up 6 positions. Obviously the big loser, Kyle Busch, back 9 spots. Kyle being shown in 42nd position, 11 laps down.
Riding along here with Jeff Gordon, who we saw that pit stop problems that they had, not with the pit crew, just with the pit stall and getting blocked in once again under green, and that's could be devastating at that time, but he's worked his way back up and trying to get up to Kevin Harvick here, who's running in the 10th spot.
88 and 20 cars running together. Tony Stewart is a lap down by virtue of a too fast exiting pit road penalty. He had to come back through, lost that lap in the pits. He is being shown in 26th position. Earnhardt Jr. is 8th.
You know how hard that Kyle Busch raced Jr. when he was trying to go by him and to put him down a lap again. Do you think that as hard as he raced him that it could have hurt his tires a little bit here?
That's a good point, and although he'd started to slip back just a little bit, he had gone back to 3rd, but you can be exactly right. He could have had to abuse his tires a little bit, and these tires this day and time just don't recover like they used to in the past. Once you heat them up and get maybe that right rear too hot and it builds that air pressure, it just never comes back to you. He is literally running 7/8 tenths of a second off of what the leader Greg Biffle is running on a lot of the laps.
That's what I mean. He's not just a 10th or 2 off. He's way off, and it seems to have happened just after they raced each other so hard.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We asked Dale Earnhardt Jr. about handling the pressure.
It's hard because when you make a mistake, you're embarrassed, and it takes you a couple days to get over it and get back to get confident again and get ready to go back. When it's hard to be motivated when an objective seems insurmountable. You know, if Jimmy, for example, was on a tear and winning 3 races in a row right out of the gate, going in, starting a chase, you really have to dig deep to find the confidence.
I think it's safe to say they didn't catch up with him in the garage area, did they?
No, he always says he's comfortable in Wrangler. I don't think that's what he was in right there. But Junior looking good. Looking good.
They did the talk show round straight from David Letterman. They've been to Good Morning America and other places there. But Junior looking all spiffy there in the jacket.
Oh, he looked good.
guys clean up pretty good, but I know he's not a happy camper right now with having to battle this race car that he has going on with this set of tires.
Greg Biffle trying to get his very first win at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Couldn't happen at a better time for him in the first race for the Chase. And remember, Greg Biffle told us yesterday when he visited us over in the pit studio during one of our practice shows, and even in the pre-race show, how he thought their team was just coming together, and it's all about peaking at the right time.
Well, this is definitely the right time when you start this chase off.
You know, Andy, we talked also in the Countdown show about crew chiefs and drivers, their relationship and having that. And Greg Biffle, you can tell, has a lot of confidence in his crew chief, Greg Irwin, this year. And I think that's making a real difference.
They do. They seem to have a real, their personalities seem to be very similar, and they really click. And I really believe that's part of the reason a lot of guys win the championships is because of that relationship. I don't think you can really win it unless you do have a good, strong relationship with the crew chief.
I think these guys like to work for Greg Biffle, too. He's really good to his crew guys. I mean, he really is good at pumping them up, taking them to do things, and just having a good time with them. He's just like one of the guys, and that's what you really need if you're going to succeed.
The other thing I like about Greg Biffle, he drives the wheels off that car. You never have to wonder if he's given 100%. Dave?
Greg Irwin told me this morning, you know, there are teams that have not won yet this season that can put a string of wins together in this chase for the Sprint Cup, and we're one of them. So don't expect us to not be around for this thing, even though we weren't seated at the very top.
Well, I think they can definitely, they're showing they can make some noise in this. They were getting things set up, and they looked at these last 10 races as the opportunity to show just how hard they've worked this year.
Jimmy Johnson's stalking him right here, not letting him get too far out there.
Vickers has kind of held him up.
It's all about opportunity for Greg Biffle, and Tuesdays this fall, ABC is bringing the game show to your house. Literally, it's your life and your chance to win big. But the question is, how well do you know your family? Opportunity Knock series premiere Tuesday, September 23rd on ABC. We'll have pit stops in just a moment when we come back to New Hampshire.
The caution flag has just waved at New Hampshire Motor Speedway at lap 214 of 300 for debris on the front straightaway. A piece of a tube off of one of the wrecked cars from one of the incidents earlier has brought out the yellow and set up what could be an important set of pit stops for these teams. There's the debris that's just on the turn 4 side of the start-finish line along the outside retaining wall on the front straightaway. So Greg Biffle is the race leader. Story of the day so far, Kyle Busch leading the championship coming in. Had a mechanical problem early in the race, then got involved in a wreck. He's now 11 laps down in 42nd place on the day. He's gone from leading the championship to being 10th in points right now, 93 off the lead as they run in this race. Here come the leaders to pit road. We'll see who comes off the pit road first at the other end of the stops. Dave Burns has the leaders pit.
And everybody's going to need some Sunoco fuel today for this last run, Alan. The 16 on the top of your screen, that's Greg Biffle. The 48 of Jimmy Johnson was talking about sliding the car across the track. It was better this last run, but they're going to make an air pressure and chassis adjustment as well. On the 16, he said, leave it alone. Shannon?
Yeah, half pound of air pressure in those rear tires for Carl Edwards, who said the car is just loosening up on him just slightly. See those guys, 4 tires for Carl Edwards. Jamie.
Hamlin's been running third. He said he's very tight through the center. Air pressure adjustment, wedge adjustment on that right rear, tape on the grill, 4 tires. Denny Hamlin down and away in the 11 car. Guys.
Off the pit stops, Jimmy Johnson's team gets his car out first. I thought Biffle had a little trouble getting away from his pit stall on his stop. We'll look at the replays when we come back for the restart.
Who would be the last man standing? We know who was the first man spinning today. Unfortunately, it was Kyle Busch, and that has cost him a lot of positions, back 10 spots in the point standings, back in 11th spot. Let's check in with our in-race reporter, Clint Boyer, who is 8th in the points right now.
Clint, Dale Jarrett, ESPN. You have a copy?
Yeah, game.
Hey, Clint, started out awful strong. How much has this racetrack changed, and what's going on with your car?
I wish I knew. We're just trying to figure it out here. It's just, it takes off good. And we try to adjust the air pressure, and it just keeps getting loose on me deep into a run. But we're working on it.
Okay, keep battling. Talk to you later.
Thanks.
Clint Boyer, we talked about how he had been such a factor all weekend, has yet to lead a lap here today. We've also been referring to brakes and how much the brakes are used here, how hard you get on the brakes, and how he uses them up here entering the corner.
Hey, you saw that big, thick brake pad Tim Brewer showed us in the tech center a while ago. And what happens with these things, that's the part they wear. I mean, they really wear these things down. Look at the brake dust coming out of this wheel. Chrome silver wheels and nice and shiny when they put them on. Look at what they look like when they're coming off. All that brake dust just kind of sticks to the wheel. And they did that in less than 70 laps.
Yeah, they're probably telling Ruderman maybe to ease off of those things just a little bit in that UPS Toyota. Brooke?
Hey, DJ, you're exactly right. We've got enormous brake pads down here in this thing, but look at this area right here. Look at this. This is all brake dust. It accumulates on everything. Look at this. DJ, I got my hands dirty, but it gets all on the inside of these wheels. What's even worse, when a tire changer pulls a trigger on the air wrench, blows all that stuff back in his face. Very difficult to change tires on these racetracks like this.
Where you been driving that thing, Brewer?
Down a dirt road, man. Trying to stay in shape.
Hold on, Brewer. We'll get somebody there to clean your hands in just a minute for you.
Thanks, DJ.
These guys cleaning the guns. The question is, can they make it, or are they going to need one more stop? Is it going to be that close?
They have not proven they can go this far. They pitted with 85 laps to go, and we saw them come in with about 75 after 75 laps, so we don't know yet.
Casey Mears came in and topped off, so remember, he's had 2 back-to-back top 10 finishes here this year, this race a year ago and in the spring, so he might be someone to watch.
Yeah, I believe Bobby Labonte did also, and you saw Brian Vickers. He was the free pass right there.
Jimmy Johnson will lead him down 81 laps to go in race number 1 in the chase for the Sprint Cup.
Greg Biffle came in as our leader on the pit road, but he lost a couple of spots there to Jimmy Johnson and Denny Hamlin. You see him back in third. Tony Stewart down the inside. He's trying to get in that position to get the free pass if we should have a caution here.
He's there. Drives that thing down in the corner hard under his teammate.
Well, with the 3-wide racing we're seeing and everything going on, there might be a good chance of a caution here.
20 cars are on the lead lap, and that would make Tony Stewart 21st. As you said, the first car a lap down. And now the 29 car, Kevin Harvick, who began the day with a struggle and a backwards pedal.
Okay, we got a car in the wall. It's going to be a big break for Stewart.
Oh, man.
Bad break for Joe, though. Look here. He's got big time damage on the front of this thing.
Now we've killed the radiator.
That's unfortunate for Joe Nemechek. Big break for Tony Stewart, as you said. This gives him the chance to start picking up a lot of spots. He's got a fast race car and making up a lot of ground in the points.
Joe Nemechek, a former winner here in New Hampshire, and fluid leaking out of both the front and the back of his Chevrolet. Caution for the 4th time today.
The other thing that's going to happen for Stewart, he's going to be able to get in here and get top his tank off of fuel. That could play into his favor also.
From Kyle Busch's onboard, let's watch and see what happened to Nemechek.
Not too hard to see what happened there. The old one, Regan Smith, got into the back of him and got Joe a little bit loose.
That's not what we call aero loose. That's mechanical loose, isn't it?
Yeah, you lose grip when you get hit. That's the type of racing that you get here, though. Not saying Regan Smith was totally at fault. He did hit the car, but that's the type of racing that you get into as you're down on that bottom groove trying to make a pass.
Joe is not happy.
No. Get away right now.
Give me 1 second here, he said.
Let me catch my breath and stare down the guy that bumped me and spun me into the wall.
Yeah, imagine he's
78 laps to go. 4th caution of the day. Tony Stewart now back on the lead lap, back with a green flag in just a moment. See, can you make it on the line?
76 laps to go. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at New Hampshire. Coverage presented by GoDaddy.com. Pit road was just opened. One taker among the leaders. 2nd place, Denny Hamlin.
Oh, boy, that was tough. I mean, Andy Petrie, we were talking to him a little while ago, said, man, I wouldn't have done that. And I got to agree with Andy. I wouldn't have done that either, unless those 4 tires he had on was just really bad on the first start. So a big reason for him to do that. I'm not for sure.
He's going to regret that, Rusty. He was the only one to come down, and he's going to give up a lot of track position. And the reason he's going to regret it is because he's going to have to give up all this positions. And if we have enough cautions, a lot of these guys are going to be able to make it on fuel. I know he was a little bit short by his calculation, but Stewart is just getting his lap back. So he has nothing to lose by coming in here, getting fuel. He's topping the thing off. He's going to start in the rear anyway.
So Denny Hamlin's going to find himself back about 18th in line instead of second for this restart when it comes up here in a couple of laps. Tony, one of a couple of drivers in the championship that have had troubles throughout the day. The other being the guy who led the points starting the race, Kyle Busch. Well, what a day he's had. Driver 18 on lap 19 reported a mechanical problem with his car.
Yeah, he said the car was just rolling over. It looks like it broke a left front Heim joint on the sway bar. You see the car already shows it right there. It's broken. They had to deal with that, and that bad handling condition got him down. Later, he spins the car, and as he's on the inside of the racetrack, then we got big problems.
He did a remarkable job driving as long as he did, but he comes back up the track, gets into Jamie McMurray. That basically has ruined his day for good. He's down a bunch of laps, 11 as we speak, and he's not going to make them up.
Kyle running 42nd. Best I see him finishing, unless a lot of people start wrecking later in this race, is somewhere around 37th or 38th. And Kyle does have some big troubles here in the race. Now, what about Denny Hamlin's team's decision to bring him onto pit road? Jamie, what are they saying?
Well, he was running second, the only taker to stop on pit road. Why the decision to stop at that time, Mike?
Well, we couldn't make it to the end on fuel, and you kind of play this place backwards from right here. If we save a little bit, we can make it to the end. Majority of these guys are going to have to hit pit road again. If it goes green, we should be sitting fat. You know, if we run 10 laps and caution comes out again, these guys may pit and we go back to the front. So playing a little bit of chess, but playing our game. We couldn't make it to the end, so we're trying to be the first ones to pit road.
Little bit of strategy. Denny Hamlin came on the radio and said, what are the other guys doing? He said, I don't care what the other guys are doing. Dave?
Jamie, we're going to ask Chad Knaus two things. First of all, compare the speed of your race car to the 16, and then explain the word almost when you were talking about fuel mileage to your driver.
Almost, that's pretty simple. We can almost make it, so we'll see how it unfolds here. Obviously, these caution laps are definitely helping us work into our favor a little bit. The 16's real fast, definitely. Greg Irwin and those guys over there, they do a really good job of tuning their car in throughout an event, and they've definitely come on strong here, and they look good. I think that we can run with them. We just have to see how it all shakes out. I mean, everybody on this whole Lowe's team's done a great job. We've had incredible pit stops all day long. Jimmy's done a great job on the racetrack, and I'm excited. I mean, this is one of my favorite racetracks. I love this place, so I'm glad to be running well.
Looks like we're going to see a good race at the end, Doc.
Dave, these guys are so close on fuel, and a lot of these guys may not be able to make it, but some of the guys are trying to save fuel. Watch Jeff Gordon. We saw Dale Earnhardt Jr. do this at Michigan when he won the race.
Before we really need to stay out with it, but there's too many behind us and leave that.
Yeah, you know how much fuel he's using right there, don't you? None. See how far he's coasting that car a long ways. That's what these guys are going to do. They're going to keep extending this every time they get a chance, and they're not planning on coming back in.
Yeah, you could have these tricks before these in-car cameras came along, and now you can't have tricks very long anymore. Jamie?
Well, guys, Denny Hamlin back in to top off. Now, Mike Ford just told me there was a cut in that left rear tire. They got into the 8 on that last restart, so it was a good call to come down pit road, guys.
Yeah, he looked like he was really struggling on that restart, that his car was really sliding around, so I think that might have factored into their decision, too. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Mike Ford feels like that he's made the right call, and we'll see what happens.
73 laps to go to the checkered flag. They're lining up behind the pace car. Jimmy Johnson will lead them down. Pace car will pull away. Let's listen in as we go full throttle.
Ready. 11 still outside here. Still 3 wide in the middle. Stay ready. Ready. Green, 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 green. Still outside. Still 3 wide. You'll be clear to the top of the left down there.
Inside. Clear to 66. By 2 behind
inside.
Inside corner. 41. Entry corner. On the bottom. On the bottom.
On the bottom.
Inside, both sides. Clear up behind the 24. Clear up.
41 to 56.
Crash behind you.
Caution's out. Big spin behind you.
Hard contact out of turn 4, 17. Matt Kenseth. Heavy damage. There's the 45. Chad McCumbee involved. 83 spinning back around. That is Brian Vickers.
Yeah, the 5-car Casey Mears has a lot of damage. He's going on around the racetrack, but he has a lot of damage to the right front of his car.
38, David Gilliland getting the window net down. There's the one you're talking about, DJ. Casey Mears. He was back at the back of the pack after topping off in field to try to pull some strategy.
See Kyle Busch pushing the cone. That's the commitment cone that he had to go down and avoid this crash, and he must have caught that cone right there in the front.
You got a construction cone on the front of your car or something.
At least he didn't miss the commitment cone.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll get rid of it sooner or later.
You saw Tony Stewart and a bunch of guys have to dodge this crash.
Pit road is closed, but they're going to bring him down pit road. It's the only usable clear part of the racetrack with all this debris up here out of turn 4. You see Matt Kenseth gingerly climbing out of his car. Show you again what happened.
These guys are racing hard on these restarts. See Michael McDowell on the inside of Johnny Sauter there. I don't know if this is where it gets started. You can see him losing grip. Kind of stacks things up behind them some. See Sam Hornish down in the apron.
Got him 5 wide there for a second.
45, 07. Looks like the 45 gets loose right there. That's the problem. The 45 got loose. He got into Matt Kenseth. And then David Gillen and Casey Mears.
Oh, man, that's a hard shot right there to the side of Matt Kenseth's car. Wow, from Gillen.
Vickers spinning around, trying to avoid it.
Here again, these guys using all of this, and the 45 car just got loose down on the apron.
I don't know how you run 5 wide off that corner anyway.
Well, you don't, obviously. Not successfully, anyway.
Look at the 11 and 20 just getting by. Hamlin and Stewart.
Almost snuck through there.
Oh, man, that's a hard lick. Matt Kenseth took a hard lick into the outside wall and then got hit as he came off of there.
NASCAR is putting the red flag out to halt all the cars behind the pace car so they can be aggressive with the cleanup over in turn 4. Under caution for the 5th time. Back after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
I fell into
Under a red flag at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, a 5-car crash in turn 4. Heavy impact, the heaviest being felt by the 17 car of Matt Kenseth. They have stopped all the cars there, entering turn 3 behind the pace car, and had them shut them off while NASCAR tries to clean up this mess in turn 4. Matt Kenseth, one of the chasers, heavy damage on his 17. This is today's Sprint Cup monster moment. 45 car getting out of shape, slamming the 17. There's the 38 and the 83 involved, and the 5 of Casey Mears also coming down, getting contact with the 38 car. For more monster moments, check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. Guys, watch the 07 car, Clint Boyer, ease his way through this.
Hey, it looks like he's making a hole right here.
Well, he just got by the 45 there before he got side. We actually got clipped just a little bit.
And Boyer able to save his car and not crash in that.
That was our Allstate good hands move of the race. And the 07 just able to get underneath the 55.
Inside. Come on.
And somehow he was able to get through that there. The 07 of Clint Boyer now sitting in 11th spot. Let's talk to our in-race reporter.
Clint, Dale Jarrett, the ESPN. You have a copy?
Yeah, I got it.
Well, buddy, that was a pretty close call, huh?
Yeah. I guess I probably come across the 45 a little bit there, I guess. I didn't really know he was on the apron, but yeah, that was really way too close to call. I hate that the 17 got caught up in it, but I guess that's racing.
Clint, have you been able to run enough laps to see if adjustments you've made have helped your car?
Not really. I mean, they were, they've been 3 wide and stuff in front of us have just kind of been riding, waiting for the lap traffic to kind of settle down. But hopefully our adjustment will give us some grip off the corner and on the entrance, and we can go.
Is the exit the biggest thing that you've been fighting today, just getting a forward bite?
Yeah, I mean, forward biting and then loose end. I mean, that's the biggest things you fight here. Usually it's because you can't roll the center, so you get freeing it up, and you can't get in, you can't get off. But, you know, we're good in the center. We're just too loose in and off.
Okay, stay awake. They're not too far away from getting this track going back, and good luck.
All right.
Hey, Gil Martin, Andy Petrie, you got us?
Yeah, I got you, Andy.
Hey, Gil. You're our in-race reporter today down on pit road, so here's what we need to know. Who can make it and who can't down there?
I'm pretty sure everybody's going to be real close to making it right now because we were only like probably 5 laps short of making it before all these cautions came out right here. So I think we're going to be fine as far as making it.
So we're not going to look for anybody to come back down pit road under this caution?
I wouldn't think so. You're going to have to be getting some really bad gas mileage today if you're going to do that.
Okay, Gil. Good luck.
All right. Thank you, Andy.
Our chase driver involved in this 5-car crash, Matt Kenseth, is now down with Mike Massaro.
And catching up with Matt Kenseth right now, and this has to be a difficult pill to swallow. Your first DNF all year coming in the chase.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to have it in the final 12 for sure, but we were gaining out a little bit. We weren't running great, but I think we were running the latter half of the top 10, so it's a lot better than we were yesterday. And I don't know, the lap cars just all side by side up there, and everybody's, you know, fighting for their own race and their own position. I think it was a 45 or something, got into somebody else and started, and then we just all kind of spun out. So restarts are always real loose and real slick here anyway, and you're kind of hanging on, and if it's ever going to be wild, that's going to be it.
It's real early in the chase. You obviously don't want to see this happen. It looked like it might be an opportunity with the 18 having problems to gain on him. What are your thoughts right now on the points?
Really just take it one race at a time. That's really all we can do. Obviously last week wasn't a good week, and you know, we didn't have much work with this weekend, and we were making the best of it. We actually were running pretty good and looked like we were going to maybe slide out of here with a top 10, or if not a top 10, not a lot worse than that. So we just got to give it all every week. We're just you know, we know the stuff's there. Carl's been doing it today. Greg's out there wearing them out. So we just got to figure it out and get these things to run a little bit better for us.
A disappointing ending to a promising day, Dave. He was running 12th.
Still promise right now, Mike, for his teammate Greg Biffle. Greg Irwin is a crew chief for them. Greg, first of all, on that pit stop, you lost a couple of positions on pit road. What happened there, and then are you good for fuel to the end?
Pit stop, we just had a little trouble on the left rear. Had a nut hang, had to go back for it twice. And you know, you have those kinds of mistakes, and you're up against the best in the business, and that's what's going to happen to you. You know, we were lucky enough to in California a couple weeks ago, you know, the tables were turned, and we had a great night. So you win some, you lose some there. As far as the gas is concerned, probably with a few more yellows here, you'll be getting close to trying to make it. Without the yellows, probably not. Be on pit road for a couple gallons of gas, maybe.
All right, could be interesting. Shannon?
Yeah, Dave, my question is as well a two-part question for Bob Osborne, of course, crew chief for Carl Edwards. Number one, you guys struggled in practice, really hooked the car up for this race. Are you hooked up to enough to win this race, and can you guys make it on fuel?
I don't know, that 48, 16, and even the 88 behind us, really strong today. You know, considering how our weekend's gone, I'm really happy where we're at right now because we struggled pretty much all weekend long up to this point. So real happy where we're at, and no, we can't make it from here. So we've got to hope for some more caution laps.
All right, right now Carl Edwards looking at his teammate Greg Biffle, who is right in front of him. Doc?
Under red flag here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the best finish that Matt Kenseth can hope for is 40th because there are 4 guys in the garage area. How about previous champions who've gone on to win it? Where do they leave here? You see Jimmy Johnson finished 39th back in 2006, left here in 9th place, and still came out to win the Cup title.
The 2001 NASCAR Winston Cup champion, Jeff Gordon. Here's the 2003 NASCAR Winston Cup champion, Matt Kenseth. Tony Stewart is the 2005 NASCAR Nextel Cup Series champion.
It's the hard knocks, it's the long shots, it's believing in yourself when you're all you got. You don't turn back, you don't give in. Rising up to see the last man standing.
Look at Tony Stewart just jamming that throttle back in.
Gordon leads. Here comes Matt Kenseth. How hungry do you think Tony Stewart is?
That 24 car makes some time.
He's throwing everything but the kitchen sink. Here comes Matt Kenseth.
10 races, 12 drivers, 1 championship. Here's the ticket to the chase. 9 races remain, all on ABC. Who will it be? Who will be the NASCAR Sprint Cup champion in 2008? Monday Night Football returns with an NFC East showdown in Texas Stadium as Donovan McNabb, Brian Westbrook, and the Philadelphia Eagles take on Tony Romo and the Cowboys. Monday Night Football on ESPN at 8:30 Eastern Time. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern with Monday Night Countdown delivered by UPS. Just 67 laps to go here in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at New Hampshire, presented by GoDaddy.com. We had a 10-minute and 38-second red flag after the 5th caution flag today for a 5-car crash in turn 4. The 17 car, the only chase car involved, and Matt Kenseth has called it a day. He will finish at best 40th. Other cars involved again: Brian Vickers, David Gilliland, Casey Mears, and the 45 that spun initially. That is Chad McCumbee.
We're setting up for a great finish here, and we had a great truck race up here yesterday. And I wanted to offer my congratulations to Ron Hornaday for winning that race. Yeah, he had a tough week, a lot of things going on there, but came out here and showed what a champion he was yesterday. But we're going to have some kind of finish here, Andy. How many of these guys you think are really telling the truth? Who can make it?
I think they're all truthful, but they didn't seem all that confident.
Well, you're saying all those guys are down there are truthful? I've never heard you say that.
Oh, they're truthful. You can count on it.
Yeah, right. Okay, here we go. Green flag. Jimmy Johnson, hold off Greg Biffle, who has been really good. Although, remember, battling a brake issue.
Well, he's had plenty of time for those brakes to cool down. That should be a big help to Greg Biffle if he still was having any issues. I think his bigger issue is going to be passing that 48 car, maybe.
This is the toughest part of the race, to pass that 48 when it gets down into that last run. That pit crew got him out front, and he's going to do his part to try to keep this lead.
Yeah, and don't look now, but Jeff Burton's found himself up in the 4th position, right on the bumper of Carl Edwards there. He could be a factor before this thing's over.
Burton is the 31 car. He is the winningest driver at New Hampshire. He's the only driver that's won 4 times here in a Cup car.
The only guy to ever lead all 300 laps, and I'm sure today he would take just one, is that last one.
Burton also won here in 1999 by leading the last 2 laps. The only 2 laps he led all day.
Right behind him is Dale Earnhardt Jr. His car looks like it's revved up a little more on this run.
Yeah, they made a great pit stop.
Oh, look at 3 wide
spots for
a second.
Junior trying to make the pass, can't get it. Let's listen to Carl Edwards' radio.
Okay, bud, it'll be 66 to go when we take the green to 66. We're still like 2 laps short, 2.5 laps short.
2.5 laps short. If we don't have a caution, it's going to be interesting here at the end. It's going to be hard to save 2.5 laps under green.
Yeah, he's not driving like he's saving any fuel right now. He's going at it pretty hard. He's cleared himself of the lap cars and actually starting to gain a little bit on Greg Biffle in second.
Remember, Junior had the problem where the car with his handle had gone away. They came in and made the great pit stop and gained him 3 spots in the pits. And now apparently the car a little better than it was. He was trying to make a move a moment ago.
Yeah, he's struggling with some of these lap cars, trying to get position on Jeff Burton.
Where earlier in the race, he wasn't having any problem making passes and things. He really seems like that he's struggling around other cars and making these passes right now as he finally does clear the lap car there. See Greg Biffle back to the rear bumper of Jimmy Johnson.
Biffle easing in.
These guys have swapped positions all day long. Even when they weren't leading, they were back in the pack swapping these spots.
Yeah, he was easing in there until the back end started to come around off of turn 2. He lost a little momentum down the backstretch, and Jimmy got a couple of car links on him.
It's one thing to catch Jimmy Johnson. It's another to pass him.
Watch that 48 car. He gets such great forward bite, particularly coming off turn 2. That car just takes off like a rocket.
Yeah. The thing that's impressed me, Andy, is how flat that race car, that 48 car stays versus the other cars. You watch that splitter on the front, it just doesn't move a whole lot as they go through the corner.
That's the one thing I've noticed, too, is that they found when they started running well, that's the way their car started looking.
Battle for 6th position. Kevin Harvick slowly and surely climbing his way back to the top 5. Mike.
And, Doc, what a test of patience it has been for Kevin Harvick and his crew chief, Todd Barrier. The way they started this race and with the frustration they had You would have thought they were about to throw in the towel, but they kept working on this race car and have made it better. But believe it or not, as bad as they were at the beginning, they haven't made all that many changes. They've only added a total of a round and a half of wedge. It's made it that much better. Meanwhile, up front, a good battle shaping up for the lead as Biffle looks to the inside of Jimmy Johnson.
Mike, he just couldn't hold it. He got up along the quarter panel and couldn't keep it there.
Yeah, we literally, you're going to see in your screen right there, we've got 5 guys that are right here for the win, going to be battling for the lead. Greg Biffle's doing everything that he can to get by the 48. He knows the longer that he waits, probably his chances aren't as good.
And Carl Edwards is sneaking in the picture here, guys.
Yeah, don't look back. Jeff Burton, as we talked about, is right behind these guys, and Dale Jr. right behind him.
When can I look? You told me not to look twice.
Oh, okay. Well,
you know, we're not going to crown a champion today, but these guys don't care. They want to win this race and have the leg up in round 1 of the chase for the Sprint Cup. Who will it be? Jimmy Johnson trying to hold off Greg Biffle, but Edwards is coming. You're watching ESPN on ABC.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series on ABC. Brought to you by Chevy, the most wins in NASCAR history. That's an American Revolution. Pepsi. Go to PepsiRacing.com for a chance to travel like a star to next year's Pepsi 500. And GoDaddy.com, the world's #1 domain registrar. Make the web your domain at GoDaddy.com.
Jimmy Johnson is our leader with now just 53 laps to go in the Sylvania 300. Greg Biffle is backed up now about 7 or 8 car lengths when he was challenging Jimmy just about 7 or 8 laps ago.
He could get right to Jimmy Johnson's back bumper, but he just could not quite make the move.
It's like he loses the front end a little bit. We see Kevin Harvick and Jeff Gordon having a battle here. We've seen Gordon have a few problems in his pit stall, not with the pit crew, but just trying to exit. He's made his way back into the top 10. He and Kevin Harvick are battling for 8th and 9th right there.
And Kevin Harvick's made a great recovery in this race.
A couple of teammates battling 13th, 14th. Tony Stewart, Denny Hamlin, Juan Pablo Montoya is there. He is back in 15th position in the 42 car.
It's all for position except for that 70 car.
Yeah, Tony Stewart's made a great comeback here. He's up into the 13th spot, trying to take the 12th spot away. Oh, see these guys going 3 wide in there.
Tony on the inside of Bobby Labonte, who has the 12th position. We just joined our coverage. You see that 29th there on Tony Stewart? It's because he had a penalty for speeding on exit of pit road, had to do a pass-through and lost a lap. Got back on the lead lap by virtue of the free pass and the caution flag. So now trying to get his way back to the top 10. That will take the 12th spot away from Bobby Labonte.
Yeah, we know a lot of these guys are talking that they think. We see a battle here between A.J. Allmendinger, Johnny Sauter. They're not giving each other much room there as they battle through turn 3. But we hear a lot of these guys talking. They think they can make it on fuel. Tony Stewart definitely has plenty of fuel, and so does Denny Hamlin in that scenario. But Tony's been back in a couple of times just to ensure if we should have a green-white checker that they're going to have plenty.
And we heard Clint Boyer's crew chief say that they didn't think they would have much problem making the finish.
Check in more on Tony Stewart, Jamie Little.
What a day it's been for him. He had the penalty and problems in the pits earlier on, and he's had to fight his way from the back to the front. He got the lucky dog on lap 222, and then DJ, as you just mentioned, they did come in and top off on lap 224, as well as Denny Hamlin in the 11 car. So both the 11 and the 20 are good to go to the end.
Last time Tony Stewart was in the top 10 in this race was back on lap 87. He's 2 spots away from getting it back with now less than 50 laps to go. He's going to have to get up to these guys, though. Kevin Harvick and Jeff Gordon battling for 8th and 9th. Dave.
That has been a good battle to watch, Doc, as you pointed out. As for the 24 and fuel mileage, I did check with Steve Letarte just before this green flag run here. He said we started out after the last time we pitted 7 to 10 laps short. Since then, we've picked up about 3 laps short as Gordon goes to the inside of 29 as he got a little loose off the corner there. Gordon will want that spot. And also Letarte told me anyone who tells you they can make it is probably not telling the whole truth. So but a lot of these guys, remember Greg Irwin, the crew chief of the 16, said we need to come down pit road. So it's going to be tight.
Yeah, I've seen these situations at this very racetrack and been racing in races here where a lot of people were trying to make it at the end, and you get down to about 3 laps to go, and you start passing cars that are coasting out there. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think you sometimes use a lot more fuel racing here than what they actually think.
Had Kenny Wallace up here one year, almost won the race like that. Everybody pitted. We had to come in and pit and top off just like Stewart did at the tail end, and almost won the thing.
41, Reed Sorensen and the 66 are in a battle. They're a lap down, being shown in 19th and 20th position. Reed Sorensen headed to the Gillette Evernham team in 2009, making his 100th career start here today and trying to hang on to maybe be that lucky dog and get back on the lead lap if the caution were to come back out.
You see, Jeff Gordon has made the pass on Kevin Harvick, but he was going down to the apron trying to make a pass around Reed Sorensen here. We see David Rudeman right behind the 07 of Clint Boyer there. He snuck up in here and having another good run for the 3rd week in a row.
Rudeman, who led a race high 104 laps last week at Richmond. This battle here is approximately a half a lap behind the leader, Jimmy Johnson, who is now pulled away to about a 2nd margin over Greg Biffle.
There's Jimmy now coming off turn 2.
44 laps to go. The question is, do they have enough fuel? Remember what Chad Canal said? He said we almost have enough. Back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Jimmy Johnson has just been outstanding in the NASCAR Sprint Cup chase. In 40 races, he has won 11 times. Look at this, 28 top 10 finishes, and we are being told 17 top 2 finishes in the chase when you're against the best of the best.
Yeah, these guys keep working. They'll get this figured out before long and up that percentage. That's only about 25% right there winning average in the chase. That's pretty good whenever you think about it, that you're going against the best at the best, as we see Jimmy on the racetrack right now as our leader.
38 laps to go in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series action at New Hampshire, presented by GoDaddy.com. Right now it's all about Go Jimmy in that 48 car. Momentum coming in, back-to-back wins. You know what they say about history, guys? It's all in the past. But a year ago, Jimmy Johnson won both races coming into the chase at California and Richmond, just like he did this year. And what did he do in the chase? He spanked them, won 4 times.
Numbers like we've never seen in those final 10 races.
Let's get you up to speed on our top 10 drivers, starting with Jimmy Johnson and Dave.
Could he make it 3 in a row to head for 3 in a row championship-wise today? Heard Chad Canal say almost on the fuel. He has asked his driver to save fuel even out front. It'll be very, very close. The 16 car, Greg Biffle, has been all quiet on the radio. Greg Irwin hasn't given him any more instructions other than the earlier one to save fuel. And again, remember Irwin said we're probably going to have to come down pit road. It's going to be close. Shannon?
Yeah, Dave, someone that definitely wants to be the spoiler of the 16 and the 48 is Carl Edwards. You heard his crew chief Bob Osborne say we're 2.5 laps short, but Carl came over the radio and said, don't worry, I'll save it for you. So right now, that's the message that he was getting to Bob Osborne. But this is a great run for this 99 team. Only 1 top 10 here in Loudon in all of his starts. So solid run. Dave?
Shannon, I checked in the 31 pit, and I couldn't get a straight answer. So I checked around a couple other places, including gasman Kurt Bowman. He just said, you know what? It was full when it left me. We'll see how close the 31 is at the end of this race, Shannon.
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr. already won a fuel mileage race this year, looking to try to make it 2 here today. I asked his crew chief, Tony Uri Jr., if they could make it to the end. He nodded his head, and he said yes. They were about 5 laps short. Caution on the track, guys.
Big time hit for the 84 car. A.J. Allmendinger, his Toyota, comes to rest against the outside wall, and will bring out caution number 6 on the day.
That sound you just heard, yeah, the sound that you just heard
coming by us. You all right?
Was a lot of these crew chiefs with a sigh of relief that they're going to get a few more caution laps right here.
Yeah, a lot of people looking for this caution, except for A.J. Allmendinger.
Yeah,
this is kind of strange though. He's well down the straightaway before he's into the fence. I guess he was trying to save this thing for a while.
We're hearing from spotters he might have gotten a little bit of help. He had just driven this car into the top 35 in owners points. And remember, he's driving to get a job for 2009. They haven't signed him, and he's hustling the car off the corner.
You can see him come off the fourth corner here. And, well.
Yeah, he just wasn't quite clear of
contact.
Michael McDowell.
Yeah.
It's a situation right there where the guy on the outside could actually give him another foot and not cause a little problem like this right here, but Michael McDowell didn't give it to him.
No, he didn't. And you've got two young guys that haven't been in this sport in this type of racing very long to know that, a lot of times that's what you do here. So just very unfortunate for AJ. As you said, he'd worked his way back into the top 35 in the owners points, and this is going to hurt him again as he goes next week to Dover. Will probably have to make it on speed.
Close call for Casey Kane, too. He just barely made it through there. Running 16th on the racetrack.
Anybody going to pit?
I don't think anybody up front's going to.
Pit road's closed right now.
What about if you're at the back of the lead lap? If you're Travis Quapple or Almirola or Casey Kane, 16th, 17th, 18th, would you come on pit road and put some tires on and see what you can get?
Well, some of those guys did pit under the last caution, so if I'd pitted then, I'd stay out and hope some of these other guys came down pit road and steal a little track position. These are the laps, the caution laps that these leaders are looking for to try to extend that range.
The owner points in NASCAR Sprint Cup, a top 35 in owner points, you're guaranteed to qualify for a race. That's why it's so important to get in the top 35, and that's where the 84 car was. See, Robbie Gordon just 3 points back in the 7 car, and the 77, the Penske-owned car of Sam Horn, is 15 behind.
Okay, here they come by the pit road entrance. Jimmy says, I'll pass. Mark Truex looked like he made a move, but not going to come in.
How about Tony and Rudeman? Got a couple of takers. Bobby Labonte. Montoya is there. There comes the 20 car of Tony Stewart back on the lead lap. He was in 12th position. David Rudeman getting right side tires.
I think they just kind of forced everybody's hand behind them. When Rudeman came and Tony came, then everybody saw that they were going to need to do that. Jamie?
Tony Stewart, they last-minute effort to come in, and the 11 and Denny Hamlin both thought they were good to the end. They just came in. The 11, Denny Hamlin saying he's loose, chatter in the right rear, only tires on the right side and fuel, and they're all down and away, guys.
How much will the 2 tires make a difference here with 32 laps and lots of traffic?
That's the problem. The tires are going to be better, but they just got so much traffic to work. If I'd have been some of those guys back there like Eric Almirola, he had pitted under that last caution, I would have stayed out there and stolen some track position from these guys.
Basically, Tony, he actually made up a spot there. He beat the 44 car out of the pits. So I think he's probably going to be actually picked up a spot, and he's going to have fresher tires than those guys that stayed out there. So this could definitely work to his advantage. The 44 is going to have some advantage with that. So it's possible they can make up 4 or 5 spots.
31 laps to go here today in New Hampshire. We will head to Dover, Delaware next week. And, of course, the NASCAR Nationwide Series will be back in action. Our coverage at 3 o'clock Saturday on ESPN2. How about some NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series at Las Vegas action Saturday night, 9 o'clock Eastern time on Speed. And then stop number 2 in the race for the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup on ABC next Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern time, beginning with NASCAR Countdown. Alan Bestwick, Brad Daugherty, and Rusty Wallace. Under caution for the 6th time today because of an incident involving A.J. Allmendinger. A little contact with a 00 car, Michael McDowell.
Casey Kane just slipped by these guys.
As you mentioned, DJ, 2 talented drivers. McDowell coming off his career best finish last week at Richmond, and Allmendinger had that top 10 finish at Indianapolis in the Brickyard 400. Still hoping to be able to come back full time in 2009. What about the 07? What's the status on Clint Boyer? Jamie.
Well, Doc, it was a toss-up, kind of an argument between he and Gil Martin saying, should we pitch, should we not? He was watching the guys in his rear view, and they all came down. Clint Boyer decided to stay out, and he said, now what, guys? They said, we're going to stay out. We're just as fast as the guys ahead of us. We don't know if the guys like Jimmy Johnson, Greg Biffle have enough fuel to get us to the end. Clint said, that's the problem. I can't get to the front, guys, and 10th place is not going to win us a championship.
What's frustrating for Clint is he's the first car that did not pit and get tires, and that's the worst position to be in because the guys have tires behind you. Once they kind of slip underneath you or get position on you, then the rest of these guys can come by you.
Yeah, it's a terrible feeling, and the only thing they have going for them are all of these lap cars came in and got tires down the inside, so it's going to make passing a lot more difficult. They may be able to hold them back there for a while, the guys that got tires.
Top 9 stayed on the racetrack from 10th on back to 19th. All those cars in the lead lap have been on pit road. Can they stay there? Can Jimmy Johnson hold them off? 30 laps to go.
We saw that Jimmy Johnson's car seemed to be the best as they've got a lot of laps on their tires there, but this might be the shot that Greg Biffle needs to get up there.
You see the top 5 spots are all chasers.
Yeah, 9 of our top 11 are all guys that are in the chase, so they're showing exactly why they're in that. They're performing well here today. A lot of tight racing going on right now, though.
Jeff Burton, 31 car, and Dale Jr. trying to get by the 41 of Sorensen.
Yeah, Jimmy got just a little bit of a jump on that first lap, but then Biffle kind of eased back up to him in turn 1.
Restarts here are always the most difficult, and the car slides around a little bit. You see Jeff Burton back there now getting back. The 07 got out of the groove there. Clint Boyer allowed, he lost 2 or 3 spots right there.
That's the problem with being that first guy without tires. You're just so vulnerable to those guys that have tires. Well, we got a little bit of slipping going on over there in 1 and 2.
Yeah, Boyer went from 9th to 15th. He's going to lose a couple more spots if he's not careful. He's got some issues. Boyer's slipping up across the racetrack and they're going by.
Yeah, once you get out of that groove, you pick up a lot of that rubber on your tires, and it takes a lap or so. You don't want to stop, but you need to get the tires cleaned off down in the groove. It makes it difficult when these other guys have fresh tires on.
The 28 and 66 are both on the lead lap, so that's for position for the 07. He needs to get in front of the 28. They can lose a couple of more spots.
Yeah, Scott Riggs, as you see there in 66, was the car that got the free pass the last time. You see the 07 here gets loose getting into that corner right there, has to chase it up the racetrack, and this is where he's going to pick up all of that, the marbles as we call it up there, and that gets on the tires and it's difficult to get them off.
Jeff Gordon, the 24 car, trying to take the 8th spot away. And does.
Harvey got the wall just a little bit off the corner.
Yeah, those two have been battling, but here comes Tony Stewart on the inside of Kevin Harvick to take that spot away with those 2 right side tires. He's making the most of that pit stop and that decision that they made right there. I believe that's going to be very beneficial to their championship hopes by making that decision and working together.
They've really made a nice recovery from early in the race when they had to serve a penalty and start in the rear.
See Tony a little loose there, though. He's trying to pass Gordon. He got a little bit loose. Gave Harvick a chance to get back to his bumper.
This is 8th, 9th, and 10th. Gordon is 8th. Stewart 9th and Harvick 10th.
Tony get back to the gas, trying to get that edge on Jeff Gordon as he get up off the corner. Couldn't quite make the pass there. They'll go down the backstretch and he'll try it again in turn 3, but it's awfully difficult when you're on that bottom and that top car has some momentum to be able to stay in the throttle and make the pass. Great battle going on here.
Like Jeff finally gets the better of this battle.
Yeah, Tony had to fall back in line once again. He has to be careful because he doesn't want to lose that spot that he just made up with Harvick.
Jeff goes way up the racetrack here, though.
Tony trying to get that spot by. Look at Jeff Gordon just pulls him on the straightaway. Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to put some pressure and putting pressure on Jeff Burton, the 31 car, for 4th position.
Yeah, Tony Stewart's able to make the pass out of turn 4 there and get in front of Jeff Gordon. Jr.'s putting a lot of pressure on Jeff Burton right now. He knows every spot and every point that he could get right here means a lot in this battle for the championship.
He's got position on him getting into 3.
He's able to make that pass. We see on the left of your screen there, Kevin Harvick trying to take the spot away from Jeff Gordon.
And Burton trying to come back there, rub a little bit, coming up off the corner, the 31 and the 88. Both slipping a little bit as Burton tries to take that spot
got loose
back.
There. Wow. Burton got a little bit loose, got into the 88.
Yeah, Burton, he's fighting hard right here.
This is 4th, 5th, and 6th, by the way, is the 1 car of Martin Truex. And now he will go underneath his former teammate, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Oh, the 6 car spins around. David Reagan.
No yellow. No yellow. Yellow's out. Yellow's out. Get it rolling. Leaders into 1. Okay, get it rolling. Leaders in 1.
Lap 280. Caution for the 8th time today.
Well, these guys that
got
were
loose off of 2, and the 55 got us. Didn't hit anything. Need 4 tires.
Andy, these guys that were making these calls know that we always used to look at about 25% as we see a replay here with David Reagan got a little bit loose. Michael Waltrip really nowhere to go, just trying to avoid him, but was in the gas wide open off the corner. Sends the 6 car for a spin down the backstretch. Don't believe he hits anything here. Nice job of keeping that.
What's happening on pit road? Some of the guys are up there on the wall. Are they bluffing or are they going to come?
That 07 bucks, I'd say they're not have to come.
Yeah, they're not bluffing. The 07 will probably be on pit road here.
He lost a lot of spots. He'd fallen all the way back to the 19th position. He's actually the last car on the lead lap, so he's got nothing to lose.
Paul Menard is in, so is the 00. Here comes the 07 of Clint Boyer behind Elliott Sadler. 07 Boyer coming in to get some tires inside of 20 laps to go. Jamie?
Doc, Clint Boyer came on the radio and said, all right, Gil, get the team pumped up. Get the guys pumped up for me to come in. We got to make this count good. We got to make it stick. 4 tires, they're going to top off. Tires is desperately what he needed as we saw him, guys, as you said, slip back to 19th. He's got his work cut out for him now after this stop.
If you'd have told me that Clint Boyer would not be a factor today after the way he dominated practice on Friday and both sessions Saturday out of lap, but that is not. And as you asked Clint in the car, he said, what's going on? He didn't know.
Yeah, I think they've been surprised as much as we have. They really thought that they had the car to beat. We saw Clint Boyer following Elliott Sadler into the pits here. He's pitted just in front of him. Now watch the tire carrier come out here. Or tire changer, actually. So he's bent down.
Ouch. I've had that happen to me, changing tires, front tires before. That doesn't feel good.
He never flinched, Andy. Never even looked up and realized he'd been run over by a race car.
You got to keep doing your job. Stay in focus.
Don't tell me those guys don't earn their nickels down there when they come over the wall to change tires.
Andy, I was going to say a minute ago, we used to look back that about 25% of the last 100 laps of this race were always run under caution. And I guarantee you that's exactly what, we weren't the only ones that had that stat.
Yeah,
I know that you know, and you looked at that too. And this has played out just like they planned.
That's why I thought it was a mistake when Denny Hamlin came down pit road running second because they couldn't make it on fuel.
The highest car up with the fresh two tires is Tony Stewart in the 20 car. He has moved now up to 8th position. His right side tires are 38 laps better than the cars in front and behind him. The question is, how much further up can he get? Jimmy Johnson trying to hold on for 18 more laps to win race number 1 in the chase for the Sprint Cup.
He's been really good on these restarts. His car just seems to get hooked up a little bit better than Greg Biffle and Carl Edwards, and allows him to get out to about 3 or 4, a big crash.
Car spinning around and a couple cars going around. It is the 10 car of Patrick Carpentier to just looped a complete 360.
Wow, Jeff Gordon just barely missed that accident.
He may have gotten a little piece of it if he didn't. He barely missed these guys.
Couple of cars lucky to get by this. Watch the 7 and the 10.
They're supposed to be teammates, but that didn't exactly work that way. Robbie Gordon got into it. Jeff Gordon. Wow.
That was close.
Right along with Jeff Gordon here. See him down into turn 1. He sees this happening there. Right in front of him. Oh, wow.
Good job.
Nice job of driving right there. Amazing what you can do with your eyes closed.
Middle 3. Spin in front of you. Go low, go low, go low.
Saw Denny Hamlin sneak around on the right side
watch your outside.
of the 10 car. Between the 10 and the wall.
Jeff Gordon able to get by. Moves like that might just salvage a championship, but it's the two-time and defending Cup champion Jimmie Johnson who just needs to hang on for 16 more laps. 14 laps to go here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Who will it be? We talked about 12 drivers, 10 races, 1 championship. Jimmie Johnson has owned that championship in 2006 and 2007. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series coverage presented by GoDaddy.com. Well, who's your man? Can Jimmy hold him off? Is Biffle going to be able to get up there? What about Carl?
It's going to be tough to take this race away from Jimmie Johnson.
He's about as good as he gets whenever he gets down to this time. Even times when he doesn't have the best car, but he seems to have the best car here today. I think they'll have a hard time. He'll have to make a mistake or something happen for those guys to take this away.
We're about to find out. Jimmie Johnson is a 2-time winner here at New Hampshire. A little pushing and shoving down on the inside. Johnson pulls away.
Well, these guys are racing awful hard. We might not have seen our last caution the way they're going at it 3 and 4 wide through the corner.
They will black flag the 00 Michael McDowell for passing on the inside before the start finish line. You can't do that on the restart.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to make the pass. It's just the attempt that you make, and he was definitely below the 7 car before they got to the start-finish line on that restart.
24 car, Jeff Gordon on pit road for left side tires, flat-spotted tires, and the 07, of course, came on pit road for tires. After the issues they've been battling all day, there's a 24.
Oh, here's a lead.
Wow. Where did this come from?
Nobody saw this one coming. I didn't. Man, he just blew right by Johnson.
Yeah, trying to come back. Biffle might have been holding back a little bit. Ooh, little contact
Jimmy's
there.
not holding back.
Little touch, and Biffle.
Nice and smooth.
Oh, yeah, that's going to bring Carl into the picture, too.
Couple of Roush Fenway guys. How appropriate up here in Red Sox country. You got a couple of Roush Fenway drivers in front and behind Jimmie Johnson with 11 laps to go.
Biffle's strolling right here. Maybe he was saving fuel until this last run.
He might have been doing exactly that, Andy. But he's got a good bite off the corner right now. He's just really beating Jimmie Johnson off the corners.
To go. The 31 car. Burton isn't bad. There comes the 31 in, trying to move in on this battle. Right now, if you look at the points, there would be a tie. You look at the 99 car of Edwards up top. And the 07, Clint Boyer said, I've had enough of this. I'm going to try to make my way to the front. Here's the 8 car, Almirola there. 44 of Rudeman. Boyer back in 12th position. The 42 Montoya right behind him. Or now the 44 that has Rudeman right behind him in position.
With Clint Boyer trying to make up all the spots that he can. You know, he'd fallen back to 19th, and he's trying to make his way back to the top 10. That'd be a nice little gain for them, even though it's not the day that they were looking for.
He's 12th. There's still 9 laps to go.
Bobby Labonte trying to get a position there in the 43 car. 24 is there. Jeff Gordon after that pit stop for left side tires. The 07, Clint Boyer in front of Rudeman. There's Jeff Gordon. Every position counts here. Every single point can be critical.
Greg Biffle's still our leader out front. He and Jimmie Johnson ran almost identical lap times the previous lap.
Greg Biffle has now led 3 times today for 50 laps and just pulling away somewhat from Jimmie Johnson.
Yeah, they've been 100th of a second apart the last 2 laps. Biffle was 100 faster the previous lap. Jimmie Johnson's 100 faster there, so he's going to have to do more than that to catch him and make a pass here. 7 laps to go.
See that 31 and the 88, they've had a little pushing and shoving here just about 15 laps ago.
Yeah, we saw these guys racing each other real hard, and I saw Jeff Burton really kind of rough Junior up when he went by him, and that's not normal what you see out of Jeff Burton.
No.
Maybe they had a little contact earlier.
I'm sure it was, but you ruffle Jeff Burton's feathers, and you'll find out that you'll have a little bit of a battle on your hands.
6 laps to go. Again, the 31 car is 4th. Earnhardt Jr. is 5th. Margin up front. Biffle now half a second over Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, 2 different lines there. You can see Junior running the higher line. Jeff Burton right down on the very bottom. You see our leaders go by right there. Jimmy Johnson's closed in just a little bit. Got kind of a nice run off turn 4 that last time in.
About 700ths of a second. Jimmy Johnson beat Biffle the last lap. He's not going to give up on this thing until the checker flag's waving, I can tell you that.
Well, he's driving it off in the corner. I can see that.
I'm not sure if that's him driving it in the corner so hard as it's Greg Biffle backing the corner up just a little bit, floating it in. I think that's really what's paid off for him today.
We're getting down to that time, though, and see if these guys have calculated right, if they've had enough caution laps to be able to make it on fuel here.
I was about to say, how hungry is Greg Biffle? You can see it right there. 33 races since Greg Biffle has gone to victory lane. The last time was Kansas last September. It's been almost a year.
And Jimmy Johnson gained another half a tenth last lap.
You can see him just close in a little bit on the entry. We talked about Biffle, how good he was on the exit. As long as he's not going to get too tight here in these last 4 laps. They're coming to get 3 to go right now.
Virtual tie the last lap.
They've got no traffic that's going to be a factor in this. This is just going to come down to these 2 guys fighting it out here. Saw Biffle really driving that thing hard coming off of turn 2.
Really what Jimmy Johnson is trying to do is just maybe make Greg overdrive his car just a little bit. And this fill that mirror up just a little bit with your car. You can make him take a little focus off the windshield and put it in the mirror.
Yeah, this is so hard with these cars. As they get closer to each other, they, in Jimmy Johnson's case, you lose a little bit of that front end, the air to the front end, and that hurts your downforce.
That's it, bud. Good corner there. Clear by 5. Coming to the white. One more time now.
Yeah, Biffle put a little distance in between he and Jimmy Johnson right there. Now, this is going to send a message to these guys. You know, we were talking about the big 3, and Greg Biffle says, and hold on.
We asked at the beginning of the day who would step up. A year ago, it was Clint Boyer who got his very first career victory here. Well, Biffle has won before, but he has not won in over a year. What a good time for this Roush Fenway team and Greg Biffle to get hot. Biffle to pick up his very first win of 2008 and his first win ever in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Race number 1 in the Chase's history, and Greg Biffle wins it.
Wow, that was quite a pass there. Jimmy Johnson second, Carl Edwards. We see a battle here for some points. Kevin Harvick does beat Casey Kane to the line.
Harvick and Kane, that was for 10th position.
Jeff Gordon fights his way back to 14th. Clint Boyer back up to 12th.
Tony Stewart, 8th place after that long day.
Yeah, great finish by him. This team really battled back.
Get a man. Oh, great job, guys. Great job, man. Woo!
Let's go down to Shannon.
Yeah, down here with Greg Irwin. Hugs from all the team members down here, guys. A big day for this 16 team as Greg Biffle does his burnout. So, like, Greg Irwin, check this out. Greg. Congratulations on this great win, Greg, watching your driver do a burnout. Gotta ask you, you guys shot out of a cannon on that last run. How much were you guys holding back?
Probably only Greg Biffle knows that. I'm going to say quite a bit. He's been racing smart all year. This team has been hanging tough all year. We've been in it, and hopefully now they're going to see what we can really do. The Dish Turbo HD car had it. Had a good day in the pits. And I can't say enough about all the guys at Roush Fenway, because this is the strongest team I've ever been a part of, and I'm proud and I'm happy for Greg to be back in victory lane. That's where he deserves, and I'm happy for these guys. It's a great day.
Well, the statement definitely is that Greg Biffle is here to play in this chase, guys.
Almost saw a smile out of Jack Roush right there.
Well, last night, Greg Biffle's Red Sox pulled off the comeback in the late innings. Today, at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the Roush Fenway team of Greg Biffle pulled off the comeback to head to victory lane. Back in a moment.
It's the
he was the last man standing, and in round one of the chase for the Sprint Cup, he's the last man standing here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, picking up his 13th career win. Let's go down to victory lane and Dave Burns.
Where we're ready for him, and his crew was ready for him too. High fives all around for Greg, who seemed to be battling two issues during the day that slowed the car down: brakes and then questionable fuel mileage at the end there. Greg, were you holding back on both accounts till the end?
Yeah, I was. This Turbo HD Ford really wanted to go, but I was holding back at the end there, the middle part of that run. And then we got those cautions. Thankfully, that's what my plan was inside the car, and close us up to Jimmy Johnson and give me a shot at him. And I was a little better than him on that short run. He was a little bit loose, and I knew it. But, you know, I just want to say we're thanking all the fans and them, you know, going through that Hurricane Ike and all that. And just want to thank everybody, 3M and Dish Network, everybody, Jackson Hill, supported us this year. Kansas has been a while ago. Describe the feelings of finally being back in victory lane. I'm telling you what, I can't describe it. It just, you know, I needed a lot of help to get here, and, you know, all these guys behind me in the engine department, everybody's just giving me so much help and support. All my friends and family at home just keep telling us we can do it, you can do it. And one other guy that's not here that told me we could do it, and I'm going to try.
Not many people picked you to kick off this chase as a contender.
The horse rode today, didn't it?
Did. Greg Biffle, emotional in victory lane. It's been a long time, Jamie. Looks great with the checkers.
Great job for Greg Biffle. Jimmy Johnson finishes second, looked to be the runaway winner today, and then Biffle just pulled one on you, Jimmy. And did that surprise you there?
You know, on long runs, we've been very, very strong all day long. The short runs is what hurt me the most. We freed the car up because of all the long runs that we had on the run before, and I felt a little vulnerable, and sure enough, he got by, and I was inching back up to him, but I just didn't have enough laps at the end there. But he did a great job. I'm very proud of the team, the day that we've had. It could be a lot worse. It could be the 18 or the 20 or some of those guys that had bad luck. So you know, victory lane would have been great for this race team and all of those employee owners, but second's not a bad thing either.
You were looking at the points. You're tied right now with Carl Edwards for first. How do you think this chase is going to shape up as far as how close you guys are going to be to the end?
I'm preparing for the worst. I'm preparing for it to be close, but we just don't know until we get about halfway through this and see where everybody's at.
All right, Jimmy Johnson finishes second. Shannon?
All right, third place finish for your points leader, Carl Edwards. How does that sound?
That sounds great. First off, on a personal note, got to say happy birthday to Melanie. She's 13. And our thoughts and prayers are with the Golich family. One of my great friends, Dean Golich, lost his father this week. And it was really good to have a good run in light of that. But my guys did awesome. I mean, everything worked. Vitamin water even tastes good right now. You know, just cool to be leading the points. Awesome for Greg Biffle. Great for Office Depot, Ford, Aflac, everybody.
You guys really struggled in practice this weekend. Are you surprised how good that car was once that green flag dropped?
Yeah, that's why it sounds like I'm in victory lane here. I'm pumped. It just wasn't any good in practice. Bob Osborne, he did a great job coming up with a setup, 4 springs, shocks, track bar, front bar, all that stuff. And he showed me the sheet this morning, and I said, man, I hope it works, and it did.
Yep, only one top 10 before today for Carl Edwards. Doc?
A dead heat atop the point standings. We were talking about how good this chase is going to be in 2008. I got to believe we may get to Homestead with a half a dozen or more guys that can win this championship. Carl Edwards, Jimmy Johnson tied. The big winner today, Greg Biffle, up 6 spots. The losers, Bush and Boyer, back 7 and back 4. Kyle Busch finishing a disappointing 34th today. Let's go down and visit with Jeff Burton. Jamie.
And Jeff Burton just getting a little drink here. Long day. Take us through your run, Jeff, finishing 4th.
Yeah, we had a good solid run. We didn't have the fastest car, you know, most of the day, but we had a fastest car every now and then, and kept ourselves in position, ran top 5 all day, and you know, that's kind of runs that we need to get back to having. I feel like we can. I really do. I feel like our best stuff's coming, and it's a good solid day for us. The main thing is we ran well. You know, if we ran well and finished 30th, so be it. But you know, we ran well, and when you run well, good things can happen.
A lot of hard racing up front. You and Junior racing each other hard, sweating. How hard is it getting in the chase now, knowing what's at stake?
Well, I mean, this is what it's all about. I mean, it's playoff time now, and it's, you know, 10 to go, 20 to go, 30 to go. It's every man for himself. I mean, within limits, obviously. And Dale and I had a great race. You know, we never touched each other. We raced each other hard, and that's what it's supposed to be. I mean, it's supposed to be good, hard racing, and I think you got 9 more races of that coming.
All right, he has a smile on his face, Shannon. What a long day.
Yeah, definitely another great run for Dale Earnhardt Jr. and this 88 team. I got to ask you about that hard racing with Jeff Burton, though. When you guys are both going for a championship, how difficult is it to race hard like that, knowing that you have to come off with a good finish?
Well, I mean, we don't want to wreck each other.
I don't want to hit Jeff. I like him. And I thought I had him, and I slipped a little bit. He got back by me, but it was just great racing, fun. I hate I lost the spot though, because it's important. Everyone's important, but it's fun. He's a good racer. He's hard to beat, man. He's just smooth.
Now you got one set of tires in that race, Dale, that you did not like at all. Are you surprised at how just 1 second totally changed that entire car?
No, seems to be happening to a lot of us, but I don't know, man. We just put on a set. The car was awesome. We're leading the race. We're fastest car on the track, and we put on a set of tires and lost. We fell all the way to 10th or whatever. I mean, you know, where are you gonna put the finger other than the racing tire we just put on the car? But we put on another set. We're fine. You know, we went back to good, and we were just lost all that track position. It's too short a race. But one thing I am happy about is my guys got me a lot of spots back on pit road that I lost. So it's really, really hard to gain spots on pit road, and they gained a bunch today. So I want to thank them for that.
Yeah, it certainly was a great day for those over-the-wall guys on the 88. Mike?
And a solid day for Denny Hamlin as well. Top 10, finishing 9th. In the grand scheme of things, how good a day was this?
It was an okay day. You know, we ran really well. We ran the top 3-4 cars for the most of the day. It's just, you know, we were one of those guys that had to pit for fuel. We just couldn't make it. You can't, in the sport, you really can't count on there being caution laps or anything like that. You can't count on that stuff. But we were fine on fuel, but we had that debris caution that, I don't know where the debris was, but it just, they threw it in the middle of, you know, some people's pit window. Some people couldn't make it, some people could. So it burned us. It burned us pretty bad, but it still was a good day. I mean, some other guys had some troubles, and our FedEx Express team was good. We just had great pit stops, and just wasn't our day as far as fuel mileage.
I saw you debriefing with your crew chief, Mike Ford. Looking forward, what were you guys discussing that might help you get better as we play out these final 9 races?
Got to figure out what I need to do as a driver to get better fuel mileage. You know, it seemed like our teammates can get better than us. You know, week in, week out, they're 2-3 tenths better on fuel mileage than what we are. So I've got to figure out as a driver what I need to do to change my style to get better fuel mileage.
Denny Hamlin still in the big picture. Pretty good day. He's up to 6th in the standings, Alan.
All right, Mike, thanks. So race 1 of the 2008 chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup has been won by Greg Biffle. And Rusty, you're not surprised by that?
I'm really not surprised by it. We've been seeing him coming on a lot lately, guys. He's been running really well. So to get his first victory of the year, that's pretty cool. But the guy I was surprised about, Kyle Busch.
Oh, yeah.
Man, 12 laps down, a big crash. We didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, story of the day was the championship leader coming in, had a mechanical problem on his car early. Before they could really get it fully repaired, it got away.
Well, I tell you, and he gave away all 80 of those bonus points in one afternoon. It's just that he's got to be sick to his stomach. We go to Dover next. I bet he can't wait to get to Dover next week and try to pick up those points again. That is a bad feeling.
Kyle earned those points by winning races all season long, and now he finds himself way back 8th in the championship. And the other story of the day, as far as championship guys are concerned, Matt Kenseth just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Well, he really was. I mean, the 45 car and him got together and into the wall. And, you know, we saw this thing same place, same time, basically last week in turn 1 and turn that area down there at Richmond, Virginia. Wiped out with another car, got the car tore all up big time. And we just don't generally see that out of Matt Kenseth.
Yeah, McCumbee gets into him and turns him, and David Gilliland hits him right in the door. I'm glad to see Matt's okay. But, boy, what a disastrous day for Matt Kenseth.
So those drivers need to go to Dover next week, and for that matter, all the rest of the races, and have great finishes and see how the rest of this unfolds. And as far as Greg Biffle, Doc, he started off the best way he possibly could have.
Finally getting back in the chase for only the second time in his career. I mentioned at the top of the day, the last time Greg Biffle was in a chase was 2005, and he ended up finishing second in the points, just 35 points behind Tony Stewart. Came that close to becoming a Cup Series champion.
Yeah, a great day for him, and I think it's pretty cool. Biff told us he was sitting there just waiting for his chance, saving a little bit of fuel during that run. He got the cautions that he needed, and then he was able to make the pass.
And he pounced on those guys. And I'll tell you what I'm impressed by. How about Dale Earnhardt Jr.? A great race. He's proven that he's going to be a championship contender, too. He closed up his point gap from the leader in this race, and you know, he's sitting there and only 50 points back.
And we finally saw Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car go away, and he did some things, and it finally came back, which is not something we've seen recently until last week at Richmond. They finally were able to get this car back and make him competitive in the late laps.
This is his first chase in a Hendrick car, and these guys have shown that they're really poised for this time of year. And boy, how about Jack Roush here? He looks happy, doesn't he?
Remember, it was a Jack Roush car that won at Dover last year in the chase. It was Carl Edwards who got the win, but today the celebration is ongoing there in victory. And let's check in with Mike, who's got Steve Addington, the Kyle Busch crew chief.
Yeah, we're catching up with him. You can see the disappointment on his face. Steve, how would you describe this day?
Not very good. If you watch what I watched, we had a part failure. That's one of those things you can't do nothing about. And we weren't very good when we unloaded here, but I felt like we did the right things, and we're going to have a good race car, and part failure cost us. So we'll just have to go back and reevaluate.
And they've got 9 races to regroup, Alan.
Yeah, Kyle Busch's team finds themselves now 74 points in the hole after starting the day 80 points ahead of a number of the drivers in this chase for the championship. And it is on to Dover, the Monster Mile next week. Great racetrack, should be a great race.
It's a wonderful racetrack. You talk about eating up parts now. The Monster Mile will flat tear a car up. So if they had a problem here, wait till next week.
Nationwide Series back on Saturday after a weekend off, ESPN 2, 3 Eastern Time, and then our NASCAR Sprint Cup Series coverage Sunday presented by the Principal Financial Group, ABC 1 Eastern Time. Can't wait.
I cannot wait. Dover may be my favorite racetrack. You see those cats come under that tunnel? They are toting the mail, baby.
It's such a fast racetrack at Dover, Delaware. If you crash, you're going to end up on the inside really wiped out.
Exactly.
But it's a fast one there.
So a day of difficulties for some, including the championship leaders starting the chase. A day of great rallies for others, like Tony Stewart. Came back from a problem, some lost track position with a top 10 finish, and kept himself in the hunt for this championship. But nobody had a better day than Greg Biffle, who has started off his bid for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Championship this year with a win here in Loudon, New Hampshire. ABC World News or your local news next, except on the West Coast. Thanks for watching ESPN on ABC. Your winner in New Hampshire today is Greg Biffle.
There comes a time in our lives when your back's to the wall.